Hello, everybody, and welcome to Hash Church episode 82. If you can imagine, we are at 82 weeks of doing Hash Church every single week. Not a single episode missed, not even on the episode where I flew into Toronto, drove through a snowstorm with my Rasta friends from Jamaica, and still made it. Although only for 17 minutes, we still did make it. So we're going to continue on. We're going to continue pumping it out here on Hash Church, and we're just glad that you guys are also eager to pop in. We've got already 200 people in the first minute, and that's just fucking awesome. So I'm going to go out and send the links out to our regulars here. Let's see if we can't get Mr. Scialdone in there. Excellent, excellent. And yeah, looking forward to a nice Hash Church today. I guess it's kind of the 420 episode of Hash Church today. We've got 420 coming up just around the corner, actually. I believe it's on Wednesday. So we are the 17th today, which I think in Vancouver, Snoop Dogg's having a concert tonight and some sort of a pre-420 event. So if you're in Vancouver, you can go check that out and see how enjoyable it is. And no matter what city you're in, I'm pretty darn sure. Hey, welcome, Etienne.
Good morning, sir.
I'm pretty sure no matter what city people are in, there's going to be some type of a 420 celebration, even if worst case scenario, it's in your friend's basement while his mom is upstairs making lunch and you guys aren't allowed to puff, but you're puffing anyway. But you're burning incense at such an accelerated rate that you think your mom or his mom isn't smelling the incense or isn't smelling the cannabis. They're just smelling the incense, and definitely how I grew up. So welcome, everyone. Go ahead, John. We see that you're eager to share some information with us.
Well, you just talked about the Snoop Dogg thing, and I got the West Coast Smokers Bowl actually little kit with me for their little contest for tonight, so I'll definitely be there. We got 18 samples, and I'm going to squish them all while I'm on Hash Church today. So I just want to say good morning, and I'm going to get to work here.
Well, welcome. I would only beg you, please, while you're squishing, to have your mic on mute, just for the parchment paper sounds. We definitely want to see the beautiful oil, but definitely mute while you're squishing. Welcome. Oh, I was just about to welcome Mr. Scialdone into the room, but he is also gone. Nice DNA shirt.
Thank you very much, sir.
Rocking it out. I'm rocking the Bill Hicks quote today.
I love Bill. Bill was the man. It's just a ride.
Just a ride.
Hi, Sam. Hey, congratulations to Victoria, Australia, to become the first state in Australia to legalize medical marijuana. I just got the IACM news this morning, that's pretty big, as well as, Pennsylvania. Another big victory this week is Lynette Shaw won her appeal against the federal government here in the United States, which had an injunction shutting down her medical cannabis dispensary that had opened in 1997. So what this ruling means is she'll be able to reopen. It was basically the United States government, it was decided because of their new Rohrbacher amendment that no states, the federal government can't spend money in states where legal cannabis is happening, and so that was the ruling decided by the judge. Now, this could affect many cases, including Berkeley Patients Group case, as well as Harborside's case. It could mean for further dismissals. We don't know, but we're still seeing going around. And of course, as well, there's the High Times Cannabis Cup going down in LA and various events going all around the United States and Canada, as you were saying currently. So, morning, Sam.
Morning.
Morning, Mark.
Morning, Chimera.
Good morning, guys. How are you doing?
Morning, everybody. Good morning, Sam. Good morning,
Morning, Sam. I like that someone wrote, Sam is looking particularly sassy this morning.
Morning, all.
Wow, that's some early churchage for Tony. This has got to be the earliest Tony's come into church in a long time.
And for Ryan, too.
Oh, and he's cognitive.
He's not even at home. He's like at work.
No, I'm actually getting ready to drive down to San Bernardino. I said I wasn't going to go, but decided to drive down the coast. And
oh yeah, it's the cup today, isn't it? For the next 3 days or something?
this is the last day.
Oh, it's the last. And was it one day?
No, it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I just decided to come for the last day.
Excellent. Well, you'll have to let us know how it goes.
Yeah. Can you guys see my video or no?
You just cut out, but I could see you before. You were in a room with yellow walls. I could see the cup on the shelf behind you. But now,
Okay.
Picture.
oh, there you are again.
Okay, it only shows me like an old picture that I posted up.
Yeah, it's probably because you're on the phone, but we can see you now.
Well, I've got, I'll be quick today a little bit, but I've got some, can you see this?
I can see that.
And this little dropper.
Yes.
Ninja Dabs, my friend, Ninja Dabs. Everybody asked me what Ninja Dabs was. I was like, you know, get in there, no tools, no residual, in and out without a trace.
In and out without a tray. I'll tell you, the Ninja Dab that I got one day, I went over to the West Coast Concentrate guy's house, and I did not look inside his dabber, but in his dabber, he had like a big chunk of hash sitting in there. So I took a dab, and then I grabbed the dabber, and I put it down on the nail, and I was just like, what the fuck? I'm trying to clear this hit, and it was completely ridiculous. It was by far the best Ninja Dab I'd ever been ninja'd.
That's like.
So, yeah, there's somebody tried to tell me that they thought this was too much terps. I said there's no such thing as too much terps. So no tool. This is how liquid it is.
What is that, rosin terps?
Yeah, so this is the cheese bomb never touched that I pressed out, and I got a couple grams of that, maybe a little more, and then there's like about a little over 2 mils of the Jack Frost terps. So that's like I don't know, like 80 to 100 drops to 2 grams of.
80?
Yeah, 80.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but let me tell you, man, little drop on this thing. One drop. It's like basically 1,500 milliliters in the vial, or milligrams.
That's over the top. That's for the people that were getting upset when we were dabbing a quarter drop at a time and saying that terpenes are too caustic, shouldn't be inhaled at that level. You're gonna have a field day with this one. 80 to 100 drops.
I also do believe I don't know, you got to try it yourself, you know, and it depends on the terpenes and how you're doing it, if it's caustic or not, you know.
Well, Tony, I've always believed that less was more with terpenes, but you've turned it on its head. Now what you're doing is you're basically adding a tiny bit of rosin with your terps.
Well, it's 2.5 grams, so you're talking 1,500 milligrams of THC.
But 100 drops of terps.
Yeah.
I just did a drop of the AFGUI terps. Wow.
All right. Well, I guess.
Think about this, Mark. You know how I am. I like to show up and share. This time there's no booth or anything, so how do you dab out everyone you know at the cup?
Yep.
Right here.
That's definitely.
That's how you do it.
Yep. Agreed. That's definitely.
It's all in one. It's all in one. It's Blue River and Bubbleman in one vial.
Got us all vialed up, eh?
Oh yeah. It's so tasty, it's ridiculous.
Hey, welcome Todd McCormick into the room. I just seen you sneak in there.
There he is. He doesn't have much to say early in the morning, huh? I've never been on church this early.
He rolls his joint. He lights it up with his little torch. He gets a couple of puffs in there.
It's his morning coffee.
Yeah, he's got his morning coffee. 10, 15 minutes later, someone will say something, and you'll see his eye kind of like no.
Yeah, his eye will twitch, and all of a sudden he'll go, "All right, listen," and then boom, knowledge drop.
The mute button will unmute, and it'll just be
So we could see so I'm not a morning person, and we could see that Todd. I get it now. We see Todd's morning routine. He still gets up. He goes through his morning routine. I just sleep it away and then try to come on. Yeah. John looks very vibrant. He's a morning person. So's Camaria. He's a morning person. You're a morning person. Etienne's a morning person. Here comes Mark. Yep, he's got his coffee. Is that a Michigan mug?
All I can say about that is pure mornings, man.
Actually,
stoners are meant to sleep till noon.
Morning.
Whatever happened to sleep until noon? Staying up all night. Whatever happened, Mark? You be all fornicating and having children, getting up early, conjuring us up on Sunday mornings to talk about the same shit we talk about all week long.
Todd, marijuana farmers get up before the sun.
Yeah.
Not the indoor ones, Dave. Not the indoor ones.
Those are marijuana growers. He's talking about marijuana farmers.
We're farming indoors too, guys. Hate to break it to you.
I've been transplanting since 5 a.m., so.
Farmers and growers. Growers and farmers.
Yeah, there's not enough hours in the day to get it all done sometimes, so.
It's afternoon on the East Coast.
Hell yeah, it is.
Hold on, that makes me feel great.
True, you're 3 hours ahead. That's a big advantage. That's a big advantage to the East Coasters. 3 hours. I mean, you get a whole morning to them.
Trust us, Tony. We've been aware of it for a while. Welcome to morning.
I would be so much more on point if we were starting at high noon.
I'm surprised that you're not moving to New York, Tony.
Give it time. Give it time.
Just so I could get on Hash Church later? Yeah. It did throw me for a good 9 months when I moved to California from Colorado. I kept getting up an hour later for Hash Church because my phone was programmed. So I got a new phone and I programmed Hash Church right in the right time. That's why.
So how is that tool there, Bubbleman? I've seen your review of it, but of course not everybody here has seen it. So what is it you're using, and what do you think of it?
Well, this is the Vape Exhale that Tony shared on Hash Church a few months ago, maybe 7 weeks ago, I can't remember. And it's a pretty cool little unit, I gotta say. It's, I guess originally it was just like a little unit similar to the Vapier and the Volcano models that are this sort of unit that the heat goes up through. This is not forced air. You're pulling. There's a hole right in the bottom, so when you pull, you're pulling the air from the bottom. It's why a lot of these units whistle. Get a good whistle going on that. You load up these little cartridges. They're quartz nails. They've got a slot inside of them. I've got a little video that I did with Brett from West Coast Concentrate. But mostly we hit pure terps. And this was the thing I was most excited about this was to actually hit terpenes pure. And for whatever reason, and I've already even like thought about telling this to some nail companies, maybe they're watching, the concept of dropping the quartz into the chamber and allowing the heat to heat up the way it's heating up as opposed to, say, dropping on a hot surface like onto a nail, there's truly something to be said for it, and it has obviously everything to do with the way the terpenes react to the heat. When you put this little guy in and it's cold and you drop it into the heat, the terpenes seem to have this ability to evaporate at that lower temperature, and then as it's getting hotter and hotter and heating up the quartz, you get that full, really tasty rip. By far the most enjoyable pure terpene rip that I've ever had. But it's also pretty tasty with just some bubble or some rosin and some terps jammed in there as well. You get these endless rips. And with the little pipe that they've got going on here, this is, I haven't felt a pipe this thick and solid in a long time. And it's, I don't know where they get them blown, but it does not seem like an inexpensive Chinese glass pipe. It seems like something that a North American glassblower produced. Really high end. It's got the little bottom piece that fits right over top, and yeah, I mean, so far it's been pretty cool. You know, I did a review on it as a noob, meaning I had never used it before. Obviously, the one that Tony brought to Spain that we were going to use got muckled up based on our own stupidity. But yeah, I did a review as a total noob, and it came out pretty good. I'm going to use it for a couple of months and find out the cons and the pros. and then
I was
share
about to say, what cons are you aware of at this time, or of any?
The whistle.
The whistle's not a major con to me. It was a major one for Sam, for sure.
Fucking cool, man. Fuck it. A bong that makes music? That's fucking beautiful, dude.
Maybe
Well, there was a time in Spain, though. There was a time in Spain where we were smoking and we were by a window, and Sam was like, "Man, this thing's awesome. This is great, except it will blow the whistle on you." And we looked at each other and we started laughing because it's like, what kind of a bong blows the whistle on you? Literally, it's like everywhere you turn around and people are looking at you. So, but that one that we had in Spain was exceptionally loud at blowing the whistle.
Right.
I like it. People are saying it's a dab flute.
It's a dab flute. I like mine. Sergio gave me one almost a year ago, and I've enjoyed the hell out of it. It tastes so good, especially with the cleanest of clean.
Yeah, it's clean for sure. I think that one way it could be mildly improved is if these weren't so small, because the quartz goes in and then I think it just conducts the heat so quickly that if they were wider and a bigger quartz surface, that took a slower amount of time to heat up, so you got a bit of a slower rip, but then it built into that real nice big smoky rip. I think that would be pretty killer, and then also cut a little window into the side of the unit, because today, with the way people share and the way they puff, it's not just about sharing and passing a joint anymore, it's about showing people your melt factor, watching it bubble and boil and drip, and people love that. They love watching their oil just explode into a nice big quartz banger, or their bubble hash bubbling and melting. It's a part of the experience that I would say is not going away. It's not a fad. It's part of it, and so make it visible for people. I also think that D-Nail should come up with something where you've got a unit like this, you've got a big quartz tube that this heats up, and then you have nails like the Vape Exhale that slide right in. There's really something to be said for the way that heat hits those terpenes and cannabinoids. It's I wouldn't choose it over anything else all the time, but it is a beautiful addition to my quiver.
Because of the way that it evaporates, I guess it would be the most logical, since it's a slow evaporation of those terpenes, so everything else would be a flash. I mean, it's what we got. I mean, I noticed when Tony gave me a dab of the terpenes that was 100 degrees higher, totally different taste, flavor, and effect than 100 degrees lower altogether. So there's something to be said for temperature factor with terpenes and activation, or at least onset activation.
And not only temperature activation, but the actual material that it's evaporating off of, because the sapphire to me is untouchable. I love sapphire. Maybe these guys will do sapphire inserts one day. Quartz is enjoyable. Silicon carbide, ceramic, titanium, they're all different surfaces, and it doesn't take much to do some bioassaying with 3 or 4 nails all hooked up to different pipes, to different D-nails, all set at the exact same temperature, hitting the same things. Pretty much any connoisseur, and maybe even not a connoisseur, could tell these differences because they're not so subtle. They're substantial.
Yeah, it's got a better taste, and it also, I think, produces a slightly higher volume of vapor.
True. I just took the tiniest little bit of water in my mouth for the first time, and I remember how enjoyable it is when you're vaporizing and not burning, because, man, taking bong water in your mouth back in the day, that was like the worst thing possible.
No way to get that out of your mouth either. I mean, the flavor just lingers. That's the worst.
Lingerer.
I mean, if you
that was like definitely, I would say, in the 90s, late 90s, was the that was, I remember moments where you would get like bong water in your fucking mouth, or you would spill it. Like that was the second worst thing. Like if one was getting it in your mouth.
On your bed, because you're a kid and you have nowhere else to puff, but in your fucking room, and you don't have a couch in your room because you're a fucking kid.
And
so it ends up on your bed.
You can't get that smell out either. I don't care if Febreze, whatever. It's
dude. That's a mattress flipper.
If you're a kid, there's one thing worse.
That is a mattress
flipper.
Flipper.
On your mom and dad's bed.
So, you do that on your mom and dad's bed?
No, I never did, but similar things.
Damn, I'll tell you. Yeah, you do not want to pour the bong out on your bed. Well, you know what? Times have changed. Even in my bong that I puff with the D-nail, the dabinator, I find that the water never gets funky the way, obviously, not even like 1/10 of what burning herb or hash turns water into.
We pimped out an RA's room. You know, an RA is a resident assistant at the dorm, and this guy got some kids down the hall from me in trouble for smoking weed in the dorm. And so what we did is we tilted up a container full of bong water next to his door and knocked on his door. And so when he opened the door, that bong water just spilt on his nice Penn State carpet and totally soaked it with bong water. So it was a nice little bong water pimp out for the RA who ratted on some friends of mine.
And can you confirm the color of the plastic bong that was used, and was it a Chills, or was it...
It was 1981, man. It was a long time ago. I don't know.
Oh, it might have been pre-plastic bongs.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's.
It was a little blue plastic bong. Now that you mention.
It's only had 3 colors then. It was like blue, green, and then like almost clear.
And they're like, how can we make this plastic bong worse? And the guy sitting at the table at the end was like, I'm thinking an aluminum bowl and downstem. Fuck.
Yeah, they had that. They definitely had the aluminum bowls for sure.
Yeah. And I'm thinking not the good aluminum. It was the kind you could like scratch with your fucking nail.
Oh yeah. It was like aluminum coated.
Yeah, at best. I mean, that stuff had to be toxic as shit because there was no thought at all. I mean, the steel was the cheapest rubber, grommet possible, and well, the funny one was that little rubber piece that went around the top of the bong that stayed for a minute and then disappeared, and then what the fuck happened to it?
Yeah.
And then you remember they had there was a time. And I don't even know if it's rumor. But it was like at a time. It was like somehow I remember as we were like early on smoking those bongs, something happened. And it was like Jerome Baker and some other people started popping up, Bob Snodgrass, and there was like glass pipes that started to hit the market. They were expensive, but what happened was it was like the selling pitch was really simple. Oh man, you're using aluminum bowls. Yeah, that causes Alzheimer's. and then everybody was like, oh yeah, aluminum, Alzheimer's, fuck yeah, and then it was just gone, bro. Like that was the selling pitch.
And then they took a drink out of their Coca-Cola and lamented.
Yeah. Yeah, we thought those aluminum bowls were a step up from smoking out of Coke cans, and then probably later on we figured out they were just recycled Coke cans.
Nothing worse than being reduced to just the Coke can and then trying to figure out to carve it just right. You can't make the hole too big, otherwise, oh shit, I need another can. Fucking goddamn.
I'm not sure high school would have been high school without, we only did it in grade 10 at the beginning. I graduated very quickly in the puffing world. I got a Volkswagen van with a stove, and I would park in the teacher's parking, literally right in the corner where the opening of the where you could get out of the school field, and we'd sit there with hot knives on the stove with hash hits all lined out, and people could come by and just be like, lift up the curtain and be like, take a rip, ooh, see you later. Like we sat there for hours every day just puffing tough.
One of the most nicest pipes I saw out of glass, an artistic pipe, was at the melting point, and it was a Coca-Cola can made out of glass.
You know what? That's awesome.
Bent, just like the Coca-Cola can be bent to use to smoke hash.
That's amazing that you saw that, Sam. I really didn't know that was there when you guys were there.
No, that was too cool.
Yeah, that was Brian Ratcliffe who did that. He goes by Rat Dog and a Cool Liquid, a couple other names online. He had, if you remember as well, and you will remember, I guarantee you when I say it, he had another series of pipes that was right. And now, one thing Sam didn't mention, and I'll try to find the picture and put it in the Hash Church group, it was a perfect Coca-Cola can that was like scrunched up, but it was glass. And he put it on a piece of grass, sod, with a little bit of chain link fence in the background, because he was like, I want it to look like it did in high school after we were done with it, and we threw it down on beside the fence. They would go back and use it or whatnot. So it was on grass with chain link fence going up behind it, with a broken the crunched up Coke can. But next to that, he had a bowl, a glass bowl that he made, filled with glass apples, and each of the apples were also pipes. And I think there were 4 or 5 apples in there.
Didn't he make this too? Isn't that the same guy?
Yep, that's his. That was him and his brother that came up with that, and it's probably, to this day, one of the sickest glass-on-glass vaporizers. That wand is a simple soldering iron, and what he did was he created a double-sleeve glass piece that fit over it that he was able to. He created this at the melting point, in fact, him and his brother, based on some concepts and ideas. I knew how powerful that thing was when Mark McCoy from VripTech, for those of you that don't know Mark McCoy, he came up with the VripTech. You need a Vrip, and that was the big heat gun, the Steinel heat gun, that he would blow heated air with the ceramic core into the bowl, and you get these crazy vapor rips. Like, really, he called them Vrips, and I think it's pretty accurate because they're not just like taking a normal vapor rip. They're shoved down your throat.
That was the 2-piece system, and that was a great system. It introduced a lot of patience to it because it could fit on. It was a standard bong piece that could fit on any standard bong.
And super quality.
Exactly. I mean, it was high quality. I used to roll to parties when I was living in Los Angeles and just ruin parties because I could get so many people just ripped that it was just done. Because no one had heard of vaporizing at that time. They're like, the what? New way of smoking what? Let's try it. Next thing you know, they're all just like drooling on themselves like, oh shit, I like this shit. This shit's good, man.
Well, Mark McCoy sells those units now that Chimera just held up that Cool Liquid originally created, because it's also the way we created that thing fits in. I have one in my drawer here as well. It goes into a bowl. It's at a certain temperature, and it just gives the most impeccable tasting vapor hits that you could ever imagine. The cool thing about it was so much smaller and silent that it blew the heat gun away. Like the heat gun was like, okay, put that away forever. That's a power tool, and I don't need to be carrying that around with me. But it was just a small little wand that you could fit into a pipe, and then I had that same glass blower blow a pipe that was welded together, 2 pipes. One of them fit that vapor wand, and one of them fit a stainless steel screen that you could hit with a match or a beeline. So I would take these rips of perfectly vaporized Rene with bubbling 73 micron Rene hash simultaneously, and they only mixed at the mouthpiece, meaning they didn't touch one another, their vapor or their smoke, in the pipe. You got them both in your mouth, and you could feel them mixing in your mouth. It's if anyone's listening out there, it's still, in my opinion, an incredible idea that has never been maximized or used. No one's ever thought to run with it. It's simple. Weld 2 pipes together that are nice bubblers that give you a vapor wand hit and a full melt bubble hit. And man, I'm telling you, that's a winning hit. How many have ever done it? The pure vapor rip with the pure full melt or oil dab. I'm telling you, it's worth it.
You could also run them at slightly different temperatures.
Yeah, well, they are for sure, because I was still puffing like you were puffing back then, Sam. So I was using like a match, puffing the hash, burning it, but the vaporizer was like a very nice light, 380, 400 degree temp, where I was just getting really nice tasty rips.
Yeah, I was using, you turned onto that, and I was using that particular heat gun with what they call the vape lock from Illusion Glass in Denver. They had a glass cylinder with a glass, 100 holes and a glass kind of screen. And I remember putting loading with some flowers, loading it with some full melt and different things, and it was like literally anyone that tried it was like, that is the tastiest hit. So if I ever have like a house party, you'll see me like pull that whole apparatus out. It's like super intense, and it usually intimidates people when you have like a big rig. You have this big digital gun, you got everything plugged in, and people are like, whoa, dude, I just want to get a puff. Like, I thought we'd smoke a joint or something. I'm like, no. We're going deep.
No.
It goes back to, remember, Wild Bill used to have that big, huge glass bong and that huge bowl and then just wreck everyone at the Cannabis Cup. Where did he keep that thing when he was not at the Cannabis Cup? Because I know he was doing that all the time.
What,
Cannabis College.
The big
Where's
one?
it?
Cannabis. He ran it at both Cincy Seeds and Cannabis College sometimes.
I think back in 95 or 96, though, didn't he have it at Lucky Mothers or something for, or maybe that was just during the Cup?
I miss him. He was a great spirit.
Good vaporizer. He definitely was like the OG vaporizer, only because, I mean, the real OG vaporizer was my friend Red, this Rasta elder who still lives in Negril. He had been vaporizing since he was young. Showed me the unit and told me that it was like that it was from Africa, and it was the steam pipe. And I'll tell you, I don't know of any vaporizer that goes back.
You think the first vaporizer steam pipe was from Africa rather than Jamaican? I thought it was Jamaican, but I don't really know. The first electric one was maybe 83, 84 in Santa Cruz, California by Jack Card.
And I bet you it was based on a steam pipe.
Yeah, it was, because I knew about Jamaican steam pipes, and I'd even tried them, but I wanted it without the coals.
I didn't personally think it was from Africa, but I'm not like my friend. He's in his 80s. He told me that it was, so I'm just like, okay, that's fine. I believe more of the ganja culture came from indentured slaves from India. Just my own personal opinion from the historical context.
Well, there definitely seems to be a hybrid when you're talking about the steam pipes that we use, because if you think about it, the ones I saw were basically coconut shells that were created their steamed ash, you know, and then the ones I think that you've seen, maybe in Africa they had like coal. I don't, or there was a different thing, because it looked like India. It looked like concept of what you just said. India and Africa came together in Jamaica, and it created a unique device. I didn't know if it was earlier than that, but the one with the coconut and the bamboo with the whole setup that we saw. I thought it was Jamaican, but I don't know.
Well, I did an article on it about 20 years ago, maybe a little less, and my friend Red, this Rasta elder, he created it. I took all the photos. He showed me the whole process. It was an older school version, not as nice as the ones you were seeing in Kingston and also at the Negril Cup. Those are like nice coochies that are clay and like formed. What he was doing was he'd create a bamboo bong with a big bowl and a downstem. He'd seal it all with candle wax, which was an important factor. He let me know later that most people don't do, but where he learned from got passed on the right knowledge. And then he took like an old piece of metal, like a little piece of metal. It could be like a lid for something, and he'd fire it so it was just clean. And then he would poke holes through it with a nail. And then that would be his pan, his dish, and that would sit on top of this big bamboo bowl. Right on top it would sit. And then he created tongs with a piece of bamboo. He broke it and created tongs. And then he would burn the coconut husks because they burn clean. There's like nothing, no taste, no smoke.
Nothing.
They turn to ember. They're like the cleanest fucking source that you could ever imagine. It's kind of incredible, actually. First time I saw it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I'm not going to suck that shit. It's going to be fucking brutal. And he was like, you won't taste it. And I'm like, dude, I have a super sensitive palate. I'm for sure going to taste it. And then I hit it, and I was like, whoa, like, I didn't taste it. So, learn something every day. Listen to your habits.
The first time we talked about that story, the first time I seen that was when you unfortunately didn't come to that party with us, and I pressed out like almost a gram in a perfect patty, and I met the guy that was making those, and he said the same thing to me. No, it's clean, man. He was talking about the husks and everything. I said, oh, okay. Well, if it's clean, then you should be able to taste this, and that's when I dropped that patty right on top of those.
That was Kevin, not Caleb.
Yeah, different guy.
Caleb makes them. Okay, just to give a backstory to what Tony's saying, this is like 12 o'clock at night to 1 a.m. downtown Kingston, Jamaica. We're hanging out with Kiddis and maybe the Nomads, and we're at Dubwise, which is yardcore. He's the selector. He's got great music. He plays music, and then he also has like really great, well-known artists sing and say things over the mic. So type of live poetry and live emceeing. Really fucking awesome. And Tony's in the back at the steam Chalice station.
Yeah, that's what.
Trying to get a Chalice, a steam piper, to burn. That's why you had a hard time convincing that guy, because he only when you put it on top, he was probably a little freaked out at first.
Yeah, he was totally freaked out. He was like, whoa, and he's like looking at it. But then, what brought us together in this loud environment was, I'm not kidding you, bro. There was like, as if you take one of those old school little rings when you make bubbles as a kid and you come out and you go real slow.
Yeah.
And you make a big bubble. This thing went boom, and it bubbled up clear dome. And he saw that. And as soon as he saw that, he knew exactly what that meant. And he went, and he started taking monster rips. And let me tell you, bro, I could feel that hit through his entire body. He was like, and he like hung on to me with all his might on his shoulder. And it was like, it hit him so strong. And I thought maybe it was harsh. And I go, you okay? And he says, yeah, man. And he handed it to me right away, as if like, this stuff's so good, you don't want to miss 1 second of this.
You should also give a small rundown on the pipe that Tony's talking about. Is about 3 feet long. It's got a huge bamboo mouthpiece. Like, you can't. I don't think you can light it yourself or put anything in it. Well, there is no lighting it. It's fired up. But so that's the pipe that Tony's talking about. It gives a wallop. Not quite an Afghani hubble bubble pipe, but I'll tell you, those steam pipes with that red.
Those were the 2 moments in my life that my bell was rung. When I truly heard the ringing in my ears, like boom. That was that particular moment, and the other one was at Legends on that other hubbly bubbly.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, it's interesting because the steam pipe A is much smaller than the hubbly bubbly. Like the chamber of those hubbly bubblies can be like what I would consider. What would you say, Sam? Like a gallon or more? Not around, but I would say at least a gallon.
I'd say a gallon
of open space. The steam chalices are more like maybe a liter if it's a big one. Maybe a half a liter of
half a liter. Yeah, so the difference would be almost like that steam chalice is like how we've gone to smaller rigs because we smoke concentrates. So that steam chalice was like a really long 3-footer, and it had a big bowl. So it was like once you got that going, it was like direct inject, where the bubbly was like you had to pull like 6 hits, and it was a good gallon of air. It was like everything you had, and then blow it out, and then you did it again, and then by the 6th time, like I mean, my bell was rung. I couldn't. I mean, that's the highest I've ever been in my life.
Well, I think it would be safe to say that if anyone watching or listening wants to go to an impeccable place to have an amazing session, I'd say that Kingston, whether it's the Dub Club up on the hill or Dub Wise, which happens at a few different places, would probably be one of my favorite places to puff. Which is not said lightly. I've never really thought of that before until just now. But it really would have to be one of my favorite places to puff. There's amazing juices and food and just like great people, and the music is awesome, and the vibes and the temperature, and I don't know, it's just all pretty good.
I agree. It's a good vibe.
Yeah, absolutely. The music. 33 people watching live and direct in the first 39 minutes of Hash Church. That's pretty good. People getting up. I guess there's lots in Europe and other places as well. East Coast. You guys have it easy.
Well, I've squished 5 samples from the Stoker's Bowl.
How's it turning out, Johnny?
You know what? I'm having some fun here, guys. I'm actually squishing it, saving a little piece, putting it in there. I'm really enjoying it. The last squish is coming up pretty nice. They're all not too shabby, so I'm getting through this. It's nice to see.
Hey, let's have some fun with our studio audience. Where are you guys watching from today?
Where are you?
Yeah, where are you right now in the world? Sitting here watching us, getting high or not? It's always fun to see.
I just literally just asked a question. I guess I won't probably see the answer. I'm asking the question as I hear Etienne ask the crew where they're all. I'm like, oh shit, don't push enter. Don't push enter.
Yeah.
Enter.
You're not going to be able to talk.
That's fine.
Dryer. Is that okay?
Yep.
All over America and Canada.
Dude, America's always well represented. There's no doubt about it. You guys got a fair chunk of people down there with your 300 plus milli.
And we got what, about 32 million up here in Canada? 35?
Yeah, I mean it's hard. Yeah, probably around there.
36 or 37 now.
Jeez, all these people are having babies. That's what happens. New people just keep popping up.
So all of Canada is so appealing that you have less people than all of California.
Yeah.
It's not that it's so appealing, it's that it's kept empty purposefully by wealthy Chinese so they can have the water and the air.
You suck, dude. I actually believed you for 2 seconds.
No, it's just a funny thing. There's all these people. This is like, you know how you have the weird, like, people are all like, they're like mad at Mexicans even though they sustain your country by doing all the labor that they do, like just probably in California.
Is that why you don't like Americans?
No, I love all people. I don't think of like
Mark, you are a diplomat, sir. I was making a Canadian joke, eh?
Yeah,
no jokes, too early. No jokes. I'm back to be quiet.
We had, I think they said 36,000 Chinese millionaires move here in the last like 8 years or something, 7 years, which is it's raised the housing prices and people are bummed out about it. I'm like, just earn more money.
Hey, after global warming, Canada will be hugely popular.
Yeah, we might get, like, maybe we'll even get too warm when Cali's like 150 degrees every day.
Moving on up, bro.
Not only that, we got lots of water, so.
Yeah. You know what? I have faith in the youth. There's all these young people that are incredibly intelligent, and they're coming out thinking outside the box on how to clean the ocean and how to clean air and how to do shit that a lot of people aren't even really thinking about.
Really, when you contemplate it, isn't it just to clean up after their parents?
Yeah.
That's all we're doing.
Yeah.
Fixing prohibition, fixing the environment. Thanks, Pops. Y'all were brilliant.
We'll probably leave our own mess. I'm almost certain of it.
I think we're heading a better direction, though. You know, somebody was talking about, zero pollution out of China, and the fact that, you have countries striving to get to a point where they're that, environmentally responsible. I think it could be a great thing. Imagine what Manhattan will be like when it's all electric cars rolling around you and you can actually talk without screaming over a bus or a Harley.
Dude, the last time I landed in Amsterdam and saw all the Teslas, like they got rid of all the gas Mercedes and it was all Teslas, I was like, holy yeah, this is nice.
Yeah, Europe is so much more advanced than we are here in North America. It is nice over there.
Hey, we all have our moments, we're all doing our things. I mean, in the meantime, the Chinese are learning how to 3D print cities. They're just like, we're just going to 3D. I saw them 3D printing full buildings. Did you guys see that one? That was pretty impressive, I have to say. Like, that's some next level shit. 3D printing buildings. Who's got their vacuum on?
Oh, is that on my thing?
I don't know. If your vacuum's on, it is.
Oh, yeah.
And if your mic's open, yes.
Any sounds that you hear, we can hear.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Well, when they could start 3D printing seeds or clones, then I'm going to sit up and take the notice.
Hey, wait a minute. Isn't that all Mother Nature's really doing?
Yeah, we got a plant that does
My
exactly.
buds out of a potting container.
Yeah. Well, if you read Eric K. Drexler's Radical Abundance, he talks about the nanotechnology aspect and how 3D printers are really very archaic compared to what we'll very soon be doing. It's basically like just creating reality with...
Well, you saw the hemp one that came out the other week. There's an actual, automatic hemp producer that you can make and sculpt, hemp plastic. So
I
there's all
saw
kinds of-
Noel Van Schaik posting about that. Was that Noel's thing, or was he just posting about it?
I saw that you can actually buy those.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. I think for some reason that Noel is a part of it, and that he's like... I think he's a part of that project for some reason. You can buy the little 3D, or the little balls of hemp material that go, that go into the machine and that it prints with. Yeah, it's definitely pretty cool shit, but definitely archaic compared to the nanotechnology version of 3D printing, which is basically, I guess, what's going on here on our planet anyway right now. Some form of 3D reality-based.
Well, they can use it. They can use it basically to do tissue engineering, which is really exciting because if you could spatially address the growth of biological tissue, you could essentially grow back limbs or do some kind of prosthetic work. I mean, it's really exciting.
Not even a prosthetic. Like, imagine to the point where you could produce a limb, your limb, the one that used to be there.
Yeah, it's like figure out how lizards grow back their tails and program that into our DNA.
Yeah, well then, in the gross sense of it, the plant itself is a 3D printing machine, right? Because the plant is constantly growing new tissue and replicating itself in a way that it's creating, certain cells that have certain function and other cells that have other function. So it's basically a programmed 3D printer in and of itself.
We kind of are too.
Yeah. Yeah, some of us are low on ink too.
Some of us are low on ink. I still got plenty of ink. I don't know what you're talking about.
Some of us don't belong in the gene pool, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness. It's quite something to look at your children, little trippy versions of you and your wife and all the people that came before you. Definitely trippy.
You know you're high as fuck when you're sitting there contemplating humanity's wonders.
Well,
Hash church is just... No, it's a good thing to meditate on. Humanity is awesome.
Yes.
I was crossing the Golden Gate Bridge the other day, and I was thinking, aren't humans neat? I mean, it's like 300 feet deep at the Golden Gate Bridge, and to think they built this thing in like the 20s and 30s, it's unbelievable what they accomplished when you consider the tools they had at the time.
And was that bridge built like just by regular old Americans, or was that like also migrant laborers that built that bridge?
I think aliens came down, just painted it red. It was beautiful.
No, I mean, I honestly don't even know. Like, I'm not sure if that was too.
Dude, a lot of people died building it, man. I mean, just the
bet.
engineering alone. I don't know who got up there and pounded the rivets in, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, when you drive along the California coast, all those bridges came out of the Great Depression because, the federal government put all this money into infrastructure, and you can drive down the coast of this country, and, if you cross 100 bridges in 100 miles, it feels like it's all unbelievable that you're just, the engineering is stupendous. I'm really glad that we came here when we did.
Right after the Spanish.
Right after the Spanish.
It's hard to deny that, like, every town in Cali, you can see the impact. I mean, it's Los Angeles, San Diego, Los Altos, everything. All the names of all the towns are Spanish. Sacramento, like everything,
Santa Cruz.
Yeah, but they were different names before the conquerors came along, so they stole it from someone.
Sure.
But those ones are still being used. They stuck.
they have a bell on them going all the way up to in Southern California. You know, every mile or 2 miles or something like that for to signal the old trail that they used to do for the church back in the day, because that was all church related and funded by you know, back then.
Yeah, I'm not as impressed with the churches as I am with the bridges. The bridges are really cool. I still use the bridges. The churches, not so much.
I agree.
But the bridges are cool. You know.
Well, the Spanish grew hemp in California, like in 1810 or 1820 or something like that.
You know what, though, Sam, I've been trying to do is really drill this into the people's heads that they didn't just grow it. You know, they had to have it. I mean, I made the comment that the evolutionary culture of humanity is reliant on cannabis because, you know, was not paper very important to our evolution? Was not clothing? Was not the ship's ropes and the ship's sails and the paints and the varnishes that we all made out of cannabis hugely important to our evolution beyond almost any other measurable item on the planet you can point to? Like, what else have we picked up, farmed, and turned into oakum, rope, sails, maps, Bibles, paints, varnishes, and went and sailed the world? I mean, trees are great, but we've used them in a more limited way. I mean, cannabis, I believe, is more responsible for humanity's evolution than any other single item on the planet. Panel?
Bamboo might be number 2.
Which one?
I'm going to agree.
Bamboo?
I was thinking psilocybin mushrooms.
I was going to say corn. Corn's usually important too.
I'm going to go with mushrooms.
Don't forget the evolution of the mind.
Mycelium, and look at how that grows and what it does.
I'm for the mushroom.
Well, not so much number 2, guys. I'm really in a serious way. I mean, you know, cannabis, you can't say. I mean, aren't we all sitting here having contemplative discussion? So it has shaped the mind much more, or like mushrooms in a way, because more people have had access to it than psilocybin. But that said, just look at normal items, because when, you know, when Sam's saying that, you know, the Spanish missions grew hemp, which they absolutely did. I mean, what a lot of people don't really seem to get is that when Columbus landed here, he found tobacco and couldn't find cannabis. Cannabis was what was responsible for his sails, his ropes, his clothes, his paper, and if it wasn't for cannabis, he wouldn't have been able to build any of those things. We didn't have a fucking cotton gin for another 200, 300 years after Columbus arrived here. 1790s, we got a cotton gin, and even then, there's never been cotton sales. They were canvas sales. Canvas was from cannabis. So, I don't know. I think cannabis really doesn't get credit for really the gift that it's given us in the terms of being able to evolve on this planet.
Well, what do you think we've been educating and doing all these different things for? I mean, it was why Jack created The Emperor Wears No Clothes. It's why, again, we know each other and have spread the knowledge, and it caused our own investigations to go further, because just from the anecdotals, we then found realities, then playing with the hemp, then we started to see all kinds of things. And then when we started researching hemp, which, you know, I did, a friend of mine by the name of John Lupian went to 50 different research facilities around the United States and got all this information regarding hemp that was through Freedom of Information Act, and found, you know, patents back in the 20s and the teens, all from hemp plastics and cellulosic plastic, how to make cellophane from it, and all these different, you know, decorticators, and how to actually strip the hemp without, you know, then lignostics, how to remove the lignin, you know, because there's lignostic plastics, there's cellulosic plastics, that they were making before they were ever playing with plastic together. So, I mean, hemp had proven its beneficialness. The reality is that we're trying to still educate people that that stuff actually exists, that they were making this stuff because everybody else for generations grown up thinking, oh, it's just all made from plastic, which is made from petroleum, and they don't realize that it was made from, you know, agronomy prior to the reality that we are now, you know, dealing with. And there's fortunately, you know, HempWorks and other companies in Europe that have actually been playing with, you know, back in the 20 years ago, I was working with Steve D'Angelo and we were doing Ecolution hemp genes. We were growing hemp in Eastern Europe producing the first viable jean that people could wear. Now, it wasn't to the standard of what you expected from a Levi Strauss, but it was a step in a direction to educate people that, hey, you can make this from hemp. And then we'd get testimonials from people saying, hey, I jump out of perfectly good airplanes, and I'm on my 20th jump in your hemp jeans, whereas my Levi Strauss jeans disintegrate within 3 to 4 jumps out of a plane because of the flapping. And that's because of the tensile strength of the hemp. And as you wash it and wear it, it became softer and more suppler. And why it was also great for sales is because it turned out to be salt resistant to the sea salt. So whereas cotton, that's why you couldn't make cotton sails, because that stuff would absolutely degrade due to the salt water. Whereas the hemp, for some reason, just completely withstood it. And that's why you've got rope and cordage and all those things that in time we only now know them to be made from plastic, except for large hemp ropes, which are consistently made from hemp and have been for generations. But besides the nautical world, the rest of the world has been completely stripped of its reality. So, I mean, there's no production plants, there's no processing plants, none of that stuff where we used to have it in the United States. That we have destroyed all that, melted it down, and sold it to other countries. So not only does there have to be a revival of information, there has to be a revival of technology, because we found when we took hemp and put it through conventional machinery or cottonized machinery, it would destroy conventional machinery because the tensile strength of the steel is not comparable. It was not to the standards of back in the 20s and teens when it was dealing with very long, strong, hard fiber. So our complete access of technology and how we produce even our shirts and everything has been completely taken away from every aspect of our reality, and now there's no trace of the mills, there's no trace of those fields. So everything that we've had to do, we've pretty much had to create the wheel all over again, from hemp strains to, fortunately the Compote Institute and the Vavilov Institute were there and actually doing agronomy genetics, which is huge, because we needed acclimated genetics. So when we were saying, hey, I'm growing over in Hungary and I'm growing in the Czech Republic, I need genetics that will grow at this longitude and latitude, and I can get, as 300, 400 seed per square meter, I can acclimate and get, fine genetics as quick as possible. But the machinery we were dealing with was 50 years old and to, 80 years old. So we could only process what the technology that was available. Whereas in China, they were taking that hemp and cottonizing it by stripping it and causing it to be a small fiber. Over in Eastern Europe, we were dealing with a long, strong fiber, and one of Steve D'Angelo's things was to prove is, the reality of hemp was that long, strong fiber was one of those realities behind hemp, whereas once you cottonized it, you stripped away a lot of that reality, and that turned out to be the fact, because those jeans that were made from cottonized material broke down a lot faster than stuff that was made from the long, strong hemp fiber. So that was archaic technology 20 years ago, and it is not improved except for the cottonization. And if you can even get 100% hemp products or products that aren't what we found filled with other things, we would find bolts of hemp fiber, import them and then dye them and then have these huge streaks through them from where they actually put fillers and plastics into the hemp, so that you got shoddy hemp. And that was the reality of no standards, no one holding anyone to standards, and mills over in other parts of the world getting away with whatever they can get away with. So here in the United States and in Canada, I hope that with Canada you'd see more production facilities coming online, like large decorticators, potential fiber. But even then, all we've seen is hemp seeds. I know that Ben had to make his money was using the herd for animal bedding. So it's all these different people along the way have been trying to educate all of us here, but at the same time, it's been very limited on what people can produce or what consumers will actually buy. We produced hemp jeans, but by the time we got them into the United States, the wholesale was $90 to almost $100. So it was a couture price by the time it got here. And then it retailed for near $200. It was just not really affordable for the everyday person. Again, because of the limitation of hemp, the import, export. But the biggest thing was because we're producing in Eastern Europe, the cost of diesel to get it to port from all the different productions and then finally get it into the United States, you know, be it from the hemp, twine to, you know, the finished fiber product. So my history lesson here is to implore people in the United States and Canada, with this burgeoning market opening up, there's a depth of the reality that we are missing. We need large-scale investors, not people with a couple million. We need billions in the stands of, you know, technology accessibility or production of large-scale machinery that can actually manufacture and produce hemp products that you, the consumer, will want to buy. You know, we had to find with the hemp that we had to use enzyme washes and things like that to soften the fiber so that the American consumer or the Canadian consumer would be like, oh, I like this. This feels good, as opposed to initially touching hemp and going, this is rough. This isn't so much what I expect, which is what they've come to expect as consumers. Whereas if they had washed it and used that hemp a couple of times, they would realize, oh, wow, how soft and how supple it actually becomes. So still education, not only from that even hemp exists, but even once you've got produced products and getting them to market, it was a frustration because we were being excited as, you know, being ecological with products, still couldn't get something that was too affordable, relatable, or accessible, because it was only available in small stores. It wasn't available to large-scale consumers. So the reality became when, I do believe, in the mid-90s, Ralph Lauren put in for an order for 2 million meters of fiber to China, and he couldn't get, the Chinese said, we can't do it, and he pulled out of the hemp market, and so did a whole bunch of people that were considering it, because there's not enough production, there's not enough consistency of production out there to get the consumer excited, much less the manufacturer excited to take it forward. So those are our foibles and our mistakes along the way. So hopefully people
part of
won't.
why I bring this up is because I feel like all the talk about legalizing cannabis is about legalizing marijuana, and we're so short-sighted in the usefulness of it that we're not even having a full spectrum conversation about legalization in this country or in Canada, because we're so focused on individuals' right to fucking have a, you know, 3 or 4 grams of bud in his pocket, and we're not looking at the overall, you know, gifts that cannabis could provide society. You know, cleaner environment, you know, energy independence. I could go on and on.
Well, it was Jack Herer's thing, the 50,000 different products that you could make from, you know, from cannabis, and the reality is
technically that was not Jack Herer. That was Popular Mechanics in the article that they created called the $1 billion crop. And at the time, they didn't use $1 billion for any other crop in the world. And people should go back and reread that Popular Mechanics article, because it's mind-blowing when you see the type of how they assert hemp is going to be such a huge new crop in the future. And that's right exactly when I point the fingers at crony capitalism and the military-industrial complex quashed it.
Hey, Bubbleman, have you heard of the American Hemp Company and what happened to them in Carbondale, Illinois, back in the mid-1930s?
No. Well, maybe, but refresh my memory.
So back in the 30s, there was a company called the American Hemp Company, and it was in Carbondale, Illinois. I think today it's the factory is now the Ford factory, I do believe. But basically, in the mid-1930s, they started to play with ammonium nitrate. And when they were starting to grow ammonium nitrate with cannabis, I have farmers that were 90 years old that have audio tape that my friend John Lupian had gotten. And they were basically saying when they applied the ammonium nitrate to the hemp in the fields, they could literally watch those fields grow before their very eyes. They were getting crops that were growing 30 to 40 feet in height. So what they started to do is they realized that they could not afford, AmHemco could not afford all the hemp that was going around them, that was growing around them, and that as it was starting to harvest and come in, he realized that he had just gotten a plastics making machinery, a paper making machine, and a fiber making machine, all at this one plant in Carbondale, Illinois. And these were all the highest quality. So he was going to be producing the highest quality paper, the highest quality, fiber, and then he was also playing with plastics and looking at all aspects of hemp. And realized when the harvest started to come in that there was way too much hemp. And so he realized that he was offered the farmer, the individual farmer, I'm going to buy your hemp for you and from you, but I cannot afford it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 10% of the finished product that I produce from your hemp as a penalty to you, so that you realize that I understand that you have grown more hemp than I can actually manufacture and produce in the time needed and have the money timely. Because back then, you have to understand, they were getting $90 an acre in the mid-1930s per acre of hemp that they were growing because they were growing so much hemp. So the hemp started to come in. The farmers were like, absolutely. You have to understand, this completely shifted the way that agronomy is today, because the farmer was in control of not only producing, they would have been also a receiver of the finished product. So the hemp starts to stack up all around AmHemco, and it's in full-scale production. And December 7th, I think it's 1935, they have a board meeting, and at the board meeting, a fire was started mysteriously in 7 different places. This is all part of history. This is all notated. The fire, of course, if you know, once tons of hemp are stacked together and it catches fire, there's no water or anything will put that out. And the factory was completely surrounded and melted to the ground. And he went bankrupt. And he was actually put in jail because he defaulted on all the loans for the decorticators, the production machinery, all of that, from the plastics making, the paper making, everything, completely melted to the ground, destroyed. And along with it, basically a lot of the American hemp industry was destroyed. And that's a fact. And hopefully my friend John Lucan will be publishing this very shortly, because there's a lot of names and factors. In fact, the family of the owner of the factory wants to clear the family name because they were absolutely devastated. They were going to be changing what would now known as the Corn Belt would be known as the Hemp Belt in America today, because being able to produce the plastics, the paper, and the fiber. And then secondly, the farmer is no longer just in the production business. They're also receiving on once their product is taken to market and produced. It would have completely changed the idea that we know or understand as agronomy today, which is completely not what it could have been.
Right, but I want to point something out. I think that we just have a limited history memory, because I think that as people were going west, I'm sure it was hemp fields, because those were canvas-covered wagons, not corn-covered wagons. And I'm sure they were eating, whatever they could find and hunt along the way, and having to grow essentials that they couldn't find, which was ropes and canvas for their clothing and their horses and their wagons, because it was the one thing that wasn't there.
The thing they had to grow.
Well, think of how devastating it would be if you're on a ship and your ship is mostly made out of this plant, that you then land on a huge continent and can't find the plant anywhere. So you can't make more ropes, you can't make more sails, you can't make more clothes. What do?
I heard that the sailors back then used to travel with hemp seed.
Barrels and barrels and barrels of
barrels, just in case, as well as seeds of a certain pine tree that would grow the mast of the ships as well. They're throughout Hawaii and stuff like that. They're a very straight tree, so they would carry both the hemp as well as then they would, plant these trees wherever they would land in case others came along and had the same issue, or they would just do that as a tip of the nod to anyone because it was a respect thing that was done back in the day.
Well, think about it. It was the toolbox they had to have with them, because if they land on an island and they don't have the plants that they need to grow, available, they're screwed. They're screwed forever. I mean, Columbus and them were lucky they found tobacco because that became their income, right? We were just a drug-selling country.
People like to alter their consciousness.
Right, and no one in the world had seen tobacco before Columbus had landed in the New India.
Well, I'm ready to hit some dry sift from D420K. He hooked me up with some pretty ridiculous.
Are you gonna do a bong rip?
I'm not. That's only D420K can say that. He actually patented and trademarked it. In fact, he's going to be charging you, suing you later for saying that. I guess.
Awesome. I look forward to my lawyers receiving it.
I looked up the big Buddha cheese patent that they were talking about. That's complete bullshit. He did try to file a patent at one point in time, but it wasn't on the use of cheese for the name. So if he is trying to do it, it hasn't been published yet.
Yeah, because people posted like cease and desist letters. I think that's what they posted.
Yeah, but if you actually look for the patent, well, anyway, I searched his company name and patent and cheese and found a few things, but there was one patent that he applied for the word cheese on like jars or containers,
right?
And then he abandoned the patent. He didn't submit some documents that they wanted, and
maybe it's just copyrighted.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? I'd like to see the cease and desist order.
You can't patent something that's not an invention. There has to be an invention, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they could try to trademark it or something like that, but
yeah, trademark. But yeah, exactly.
And blowhardness to actually intimidate people because there's no traction to that reality, and so you have somebody going around. He's not a small individual intimidating people, and then using letters to scare people. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten bullshit letters from different people saying all kinds of different things regarding cannabis. So, you got to take it with its own grain of salt. But it's
to make sure we weren't breaking anybody's copyright. Mark and I, when we were down in Barcelona, what were we calling it? Gargonzola?
We were calling it the Emmenthal.
So basically what's happening is he's trying to say you can't use the word cheese with cannabis. Is that the reality that he's trying to enforce with people? Or
no, he's actually, if you say the word cheese on Hash Church, you're going to be charged.
You're going to see the
fromage?
That's what I'm for, fromage.
Cheese Church.
French is covered in the trademark. Just
cheese? Someone say cheese.
Cos? Is Cos?
Oh, yeah. Cos with one A and Cos with two A's. Both trademarked.
That's such bullshit.
Well, there's always the American version, Velveeta.
Right.
American? We have our own cheese called American.
What about just Whiz?
Oh, Cheese Whiz. I want to Trisket.
Now remember, real cheese has to go in the refrigerator. If it ain't in the refrigerator, it ain't cheese. Look,
I think the Italians would disagree with you with Parmesan.
No, there's lots of French cheeses that should not be refrigerated.
Yeah, my Italian friends freaked out when I put a special cheese in the fridge. They lost their mind because it made the cheese too hard. There's a whole bunch of cheeses that you don't put in the fridge.
I guess we go with queso here as well, Is queso patented?
I might call next episode Cheese Church.
Everybody, and all our names are different cheese names.
So, Etienne, did you see Arno's publication this week, or the one that was in the news? It's not. I don't think it's been accepted through the journal yet, but it's.
Yeah, I don't think it's been accepted yet, but I did read it. What did you think?
I think it's great that it. I mean, essentially, for everybody that doesn't know what it is, it's an evaluation of terpene and cannabinoid content on cannabis that has been gamma irradiated. So
since the Dutch actually irradiate their cannabis, and Arno as the actual tester, and actually does and has dealt with, I mean, he was telling us this back in 2011 when I was there, probably even when you went through the Dutch program that he was putting on. I mean, he already had that information out there because that was one of the first things I asked. I was like, okay, since this is irradiated, what are the effects? And he says, I've looked at under the scope, and everything seems to be kosher, except there is some, evaporation which, takes place, but everything seems to...
Terpenes specifically.
Right.
Right. So this is, yeah, so in Holland, they gamma irradiate the cannabis, and Bedrocan, and some of the other companies, I believe, also in Canada, actually irradiate the weed so that they can bring it in under the biological allowable limits, right? Microbials. And they've actually shown that although the cannabinoids don't change when you gamma irradiate the weed, you actually have some loss of terpenes, either through evaporations. And this paper claimed that there wasn't any conversion, but I did notice that pinene went up in one of the samples too. So anyway, it's an interesting paper.
Doesn't
first of its kind.
Aren't terpenes always lost? Like, aren't they continually being lost, and that's why we can smell them?
They are continually being lost, but the point was that you're doing a process on them, and they measured, terpene loss before and after, or they measured terpene content before and after, and show that there was, in some cases, pretty significant loss, right?
38%.
So, the point is we put a whole bunch of effort into producing plants that make a lot of oil, right? That have really high amounts of terpenes. So you want to preserve that.
Absolutely. Well, that's a nice paper to direct them in that very direction. People have always said they don't like the irradiation thing, but it's like it's nice to know why we don't like it. If there's terpene loss, that's one good reason not to like it.
Arnaud clearly states that the important thing in medical cannabis is THC and CBD. He doesn't include terpenes in anything that's important.
Right.
He considers them non-essential, and that's why he was more concerned if the cannabinoids were staying in place for the consistency of the Bedrocan material, as opposed to what we're discussing, finding the...
They do. They stay in place. That seems pretty stable.
Correct.
But if you can lose up to 38% of your terpenes, that's way too high.
Yeah.
Don't you think that process produces that hashishine molecule, which is a light-mediated reaction?
Well, it didn't show,
I have no idea.
They definitely didn't look at it in the study, and there's no peaks for that in the.
That would be a different study, a different peak look. Yeah.
Yeah, they decided that it was evaporation, but then again, that doesn't account for that pinene spike.
Well, there you go, Scialdone. There's something you can do some research on. Let us know the results.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was myrcene, and it's a light-mediated reaction. So the question is not why won't it, or why will it make hashishine? The question is why won't it if this other group observed it? That's all.
Well, it didn't show up in the analysis, right?
Yeah, but maybe they weren't looking for it, or maybe, again, that molecular weight can correspond to several different isomers, and they may not be, I don't know, looking at the same fragmentation pattern that other group found or whatever in their mass spec. I don't know that.
Have you seen the paper? Have you seen this paper we're talking about, or no?
Yeah, yep, I've seen it. Yep.
You got it. Okay, cool. I was gonna upload it.
Someone sent it to me recently. I don't know if it was Chimera or Sam. I definitely have that paper.
Cool.
I really like the paper, but I also am offended the way he ignores terpenes as being medically important.
Does he
you got to remember the context. Arnaud is the head of science for Bedrocan, and they're trying to sell a product, so they have to justify the process that goes on the product.
Right, but those things are just THC producing machines, and their thing is based on a specification. A product specification has to do with cannabinoid measurements and has nothing to do with terpenes, and so that's, I think, what underpins that statement, right?
No, they measured terpenes in the study.
No. But the point, I think, what Sam is trying to say is that.
I think what Sam was saying is that he was offended that Arnaud doesn't believe that terpenes are important medical compounds.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, that the way that the company views this is that these things are just cannabinoid-producing machines, and we can give a rat's ass what happens to the terpenes.
I don't think that's not true, because I don't think that's an accurate statement to say that. But they're definitely trying to justify the fact that the process that goes on to the herb, is worth the trade-off. So I think
Well,
that
it might even be true that THC is most important, maybe even CBD next.
yeah, you
but-
have to remember there's very little scientific evidence that shows the terpenes do anything. So
Exactly. That's
That's where the
the
value of the
difference.
bioassay comes in, and that you can't just go to school for. Your own bioassay is a pretty valuable thing when you know that
Yeah,
there's...
but we have to take that bioassay and we have to do studies on it. We have to have real science behind it. I mean, that's the reality that we have to finance and we have to get behind and do. We got to get past this hearsay and conjecture and actually put it into papers and submit it for peer review. I mean, that's the end.
Well, it's inevitable. It's going to happen for sure. It's I'd be blown away if they never found scientific proof in some form or
It
another.
took years for that to happen with the major and minor cannabinoids.
So, but there was another interesting thing that was released this week. I saw tweeted about. I didn't actually see the presentation, but Medicinal Genomics had a conference at Harvard called CanMed or Canamed.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure some of you saw that. But SC posted a little thing, and you know, one of the things that Kevin McKernan and SC did together with the Emerald Cup this year is they took the winning samples and they sequenced them out and they tested them all and everything. And the one thing that really made those samples stand out from the average of the samples is that they all had higher terpene contents. So it's interesting that the winning samples all actually just, you know, selected by people as which were the best, all naturally had high terpene content. So it kind of really goes against the evidence or the opinion that Arno was putting forth in the paper.
Mm. Well, you got to think that the terpenes are super important in the way we react to the smelling even of the plant before we're inhaling them and getting the effects. The finding that good smell, the olfactory experience has always been high up on the list of how we find things that we like. And I'm sure with cannabis, it's
The latest thing is that patients are reporting to me that they're getting benefits from terpenes or suites of terpenes found in cannabis, and they're not smoking THC or CBD with it. They're just vaping terpenes, and they're getting benefit for different medical indications. So, yeah, the world will learn.
Yeah, well, I just think that the cup thing is actually an interesting metric because the people are essentially choosing it, not even thinking about the terpenes or any of that stuff. They're just smoking the herb and telling us what's best.
If they have a choice, I don't blame them.
Right, but then when the analysis comes back on the samples that people are smoking, it turns out that the ones that actually got chosen were actually, all of them were higher in terps than the average, right? And that's, so it's like people aren't actually trying to choose the most terpy ones, they just are they're choosing the best ones, and those happen to be the most terpy ones, which is kind of cool.
Well, it's
surprised though, right?
It's like with me, like certain strains that I always picked up on always worked well for my pain, and then when Mark brought those terpenes into the hospital, just those fragrances helped me modulate my pain and stuff. So I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Like we all see it, and I feel it, and seeing this with myself for so long, and now being able to really understand it and seeing these separations with the different terpenes. I mean, I have the ones that work for me, and these are the ones that I'm liking right now. It's a whole new thing. It's great to see it. You know, it's definitely something that we're all looking closely at more and more.
It's nice to have access to them anyway. I just like the fact, you know, I don't think that people are necessarily missing out if they don't have the access, but
it's in the butt. It's still there. You can still use the terpenes from the cannabis. You don't have to have them extracted. You can still smell that. Like when you wake up in the morning, crack that jar, you're going to get that uplifting. So it's always there when you open up a new jar or a new bag.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking forward to when Tony gets analysis of his herb and then the terpenes that he makes from that specific herb also tested. And we'll have side by side. I think that'll be really, really interesting. He says he's going to do it at SC Labs this time.
It'll become the new standard, Sam. Honestly, If you want to make terps, we want to see your terpene profile from the herb, and we want to see the terpene profile from the terps.
Absolutely, that's ideal.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a good start anyway. I don't think it'll be the end of the journey, but that's definitely like a good place to start to see what's been changed or altered, you know, and to try and create a method that creates the least amount of change and alteration.
There's a guy named Tree Terps. I think he's on Instagram. I found a couple of his photos, and he had uploaded some photos from 3 varieties that he'd put through SC Labs of both the terps and the varieties, and you could see what was changing and what wasn't. They're pretty stable for the most part, but there was always some little changes, right?
Yeah, but not big spike changes, just the smaller ones.
No, but there's some little significant blips that do change or disappear, and sometimes increase. So you can see what's going on. Sometimes that there's changes to the actual terpenes through the process.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Again, I don't think it really matters that it has to be identical. But
when you say changes, what do you mean, changes in levels?
Yeah, let me see if I can. You know what I should do? Let me see if I can find it, and I'll screen share. That way you can see.
Hey, Mr. Scialdone. So.
Dr. Scialdone, what the fuck? Man?
Doctor. All right, doctor. All right, I had the hive top. This is the hive bottom. This is the sick top from D-Nail. Good job, Brian, and everybody over there. They have a modified top that goes in and on your hive, which absolutely awesome. The first head, the heat destroyed it, needless to say, but I have to say the SIC head on this, primo for torches, without a doubt, the retention of heat and flavor. I hope you guys do something with these guys because it's solid. Whereas within a few
record, Etienne, I'm not with Hive. I'm not with Vape.
I thought you were. Sorry, my mistake.
No. That's a relationship that ended with last year. So.
My apologies. Then give them shit.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I know those cats though, and I think it's a high quality product. And I love the silicon carbide nail. I mean, I think it. Like Mark was saying, he likes the sapphire the best. I think I like the silicon carbide. I haven't tried a sapphire yet, but I think the silicon carbide is my favorite. How do you compare silicon carbide to sapphire, Mark?
I just, the sapphire is gentle, and it seems to preserve the flavors and the tastes in the way that I enjoy them the most. It cleans the easiest by simply turning the unit up. It cleans like to brand new. It doesn't fog over or get weird the way quartz does. It's just, it's rare. It's the hardest one to get. I think they produce 300 of them a year or something. It's like a low.
How do you like silicon carbide? Have you tried that?
Well, I have quite a few of the silicon carbides, and I quite enjoyed it. I think of it as my travel unit. It's a nice travel unit. It's very strong. And it's a nice big still halo dish because I can't puff off of these these little type of nails. I'm just like.
Yeah, I meant like flavor wise. Like, can you tell a flavor difference between the sapphire and the silicon carbide? Is that pretty close?
Yeah, no, you can definitely tell the difference on all of them. I don't think even a connoisseur is necessarily needed. If you just did it with people's eyes closed and let them hit the same thing like 4 times in a row off quartz, titanium, silicon carbide, and sapphire, they would all find a sweet spot that they enjoyed based on the way they created all the pathways in their brain. And I wouldn't think that everyone would be the same. Some people prefer a titanium. Some people prefer a quartz. But for me, for whatever reason, the way it preserves the flavors, for me, I like it the best. Very much a personal choice. I really don't think that if there was 10 of us in a room, we would all choose sapphire. I highly doubt it, in fact.
It all comes down to preference, and both are really good. I do enjoy, for my home unit, the sapphire, without a doubt. It's definitely most flavorful, but the sick is much easier to clean, in my opinion. The silicon carbide.
Yeah, it cleans nice for sure. Todd looks like he's in front of a green screen from a distance.
So can you guys see the screen, or what do you? I can't tell because I.
Yes, perfect.
Yes, perfect. Put that up there, Bubbleman.
Yeah, it's up. I'm just making
Wow, what are we looking at?
So this is obviously somebody on Instagram named True Terps, and I came across these, and it was a copy of. On the right is a SC Labs lab report from the flower on the right here, and on the left it's the oil. So this is Blue Dream. So
that's the oil extracted from that flower.
I guess so, yeah.
That's pretty damn close, dude. Aside from the alpha bisabolol and the caryophyllene oxide.
Yeah, so caryophyllene oxide is one that's a byproduct of. It's not really found in the plant. It's kind of a bit.
Right. It's a byproduct of caryophyllene oxidation.
Yeah. So you can see that it goes up. So there's something in the process that's causing it to go from 0.24 in the flower to 6.27. Okay.
Well, but it's a concentrated version, so that's why all the numbers, for instance, alpha-pinene.
The ratios change those, is what I'm saying. So if you look at the flower, there's roughly equal amounts of beta-pinene and myrcene, okay? The black and the blue spike. But look at in the oil. There's way more blue than there is myrcene, and there's way more pinene than there is myrcene.
Yeah, well, myrcene. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. We lost myrcene for sure.
Yeah.
Do you attribute that to extraction process?
Evaporation.
Yeah. I mean, it probably. Well, it could be. Yeah, it could be a whole bunch of things, but
it's volatile. It could be evaporating. Again, myrcene.
Oh, pretty close though.
But myrcene does have photolytic chemistry, and you can't. If the stuff is exposed to light, you can't keep it from happening. It's going to happen.
Yeah. So that's one, okay? But look at linalool. In the flower, there's almost no linalool, okay? But in the oil, there's like 4.21 milligrams.
Right.
And so we're talking like 0.04%. It's a pretty low amount of the total extract. But still, it's like it is happening, right?
Yeah, so there's a terpenal carbocation that you could make, again, from myrcene that can essentially rearrange to linalool if it's trapped by water. If water reacts with that carbonium ion, that's linalool.
Right.
Yeah, there's fundamental chemical mechanisms that you could plot to each one of these changes. But you're right, the process does appear to be changing it.
And what about valencine? Valencine
and glyol at the bottom are both they're both huge increases, right?
Right, yeah. Glyol and valencine. I wonder if myrcene can translate and change into valencine.
No, because valencine is a sesquiterp, right? Valencine's a 15 carbon one. Humulene or probably caryophyllene could rearrange into the valencine thing, but yeah, I'm not sure that chemistry is known.
Didn't lose my humulene.
Right, that comes from a 15 carbon thing as opposed to a 10 carbon one.
Well, they don't put oh, there's humulene. Yeah, okay.
I'm still pretty surprised at how similar the majority of the peaks are. I mean, the myrcene is a substantial loss, but pinene, limonene.
But one of the other things that's really important in scent is the ratios between the two, or between the individual terps.
Yeah.
And when we say fingerprint, like that's what we mean. And there was a presentation a couple weeks ago, and next week I'll be able to share it with you guys. But there's some pretty cool stuff on flavor classes that you're finally going to be able to see.
I wonder, Ryan, like how many times when they run this GC analysis, like how reproducible are these fingerprints? Like when we look at these, what are the error bars in these measurements? Is it plus?
Yeah, unfortunately you don't get that because these are single runs.
Right.
For one client, like this is a client's lab report, right?
Right.
So. And you can't, but what you're getting at is coming soon. Coming soon to a theater near you.
That's a major caryophyllene jump.
Yeah, but you can see that this variety is myrcene dominant, right?
Yeah.
And there's actually not much in this one. Like it's myrcene and osamine and then a bunch of little blips.
Right.
But then again in the extract, look, you went from 0 linalool to like 12 milligrams. And even limonene also increased as a ratio.
Yeah, terpenes are so strong though; those little blips can sure affect and change things out.
Osamine is another one that's very labile. It'll start doing chemistry just by heating it up or exposing it to air.
Yeah, well, osamine and myrcene are both acyclic monoterps, right? So they
Right. Yep. Sure.
they can kind of jump around in anything.
Yeah, and if they're heated up in the presence of air, I mean, you're going to start forming hydroperoxides and other things too. I mean, you just can't keep this thing from happening.
So again, huge loss in beta-caryophyllene and humulene is a ratio. It looks like the oil really concentrated those things. But he's got a couple more on here. Let me go and find another one. But you can.
I mean, Ryan, do they know what happened to the cannabinoids in this process? Have they changed at all?
It's the cheese!
These are terps. These are terps. This is a terp extract.
Oh, this is just a terp extract, so cannabinoid free.
Of bud and of oil.
Yes, but I mean, in this process, is the cannabinoid ratio the same?
It's a terpene extract. It's only terpenes. It's
only terpenes. Okay, I'm sorry.
Not yet. So it goes from whatever the cannabinoids are to 0.
Borneo gone.
Yeah, but terpeneol is produced.
Produced, yeah, like a substantial amount.
Yeah, and even a little bit of osamine, but like Mark was saying, that probably came from the myrcene. But
Right.
you can see, the point is that you can see that the fingerprint is the same. Like, you can kind of tell it's got all the same terpenes in it, plus or minus, with a little bit of variation, but all the major spikes are still there. It's just the ratios between them changes a little bit, right? So it might be that, we look at the ratio or the fingerprint of the flower and the fingerprint of the oil as like if they're similar, then that's like maybe a high quality extract. But in the end, to me, it doesn't really matter that much because all that really matters is what's in the extract, right? That's what you're consuming. If you're consuming it, assuming people are consuming it. Anyway, he's got one more on here, and let's just look at one more.
Oh, we're consuming it.
Yeah. Here's Whitaker Blues from...
What is a genetic Whitaker Blue? I'm not familiar with it.
It's a hybrid of something from DJ Short. I think his son made this one.
Do you think that Tree Terps is about to get some new followers?
Yeah, probably. The Tree Terps Hash Church bump.
It's like 34 likes. Next week, 3,400 likes.
Look, he's got the Hash Church.
Follow him and like.
He's got the Hash Church tag already in his thing.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about.
So
I love seeing you side by side.
It's really similar with just a little bit of Borneol produced. I guess Fenchol goes up a relative amount too, but for the most part,
Alpha bisabolol is almost gone. Not that there was a lot there.
Yeah.
The show's different on the guayal. It's pretty interesting. I like to see them side by side like that for sure.
Look again, Valencine was produced in this one.
Yeah, right at the bottom there.
And look how much.
Vital was almost. Alpha-pinene, myrcene. Whoa.
Oh. Anyhow.
Free.
How do I stop screen sharing?
Wow, we kind of went Inception there.
Thanks for sharing that, dude. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, thank you, Chimera. That's good. Love seeing that stuff.
Yeah, again, you got to put a caveat on how reproducible those results are time and time again, and certainly, like in different cultivation practices and different other parameters, can certainly affect terpenes, how the plant's cured. Everything is going to affect the terpene content. Terpene content is going to be very susceptible to environmental conditions.
Yeah.
Is anyone else not seeing Mark Scialdone in his camera? I just see a picture.
I thought it was a new Mark.
Okay.
Can you guys not hear me?
Oh, we can hear you.
We hear you fine, Mark. We just can't see you.
Okay, how about now?
Black.
No.
Can you hear me now?
There's a photograph of you. We can hear you, but there is when you go to your camera, it's black.
Oh, that's not good. Okay, let me.
Like right now, it's black.
Okay, let me go out and come back. I'll be back.
I'll be back. Well, yeah, that was interesting. It's nice to see these things becoming more than a name, but becoming, like you said a week or two ago on Hash Church Chimera, the constituents that make up what it is. What better way to describe something?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's I think that's going to shift to be the way that cannabis is categorized in the future, because they definitely do have distinct entourage effects and flavors, you know, that kind of vary with the terpene class, and then there's minor differences between varietals, but really there's only so many archetypes of terpene flavors.
Well, people are ripe for this information too. People love to learn things about cannabis, and it seems right now the thing that most people seem to be peaking on is to learn more about the terpenes, to learn what they're doing and how they're doing it, and ways of. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see once people start making the processing of terpenes more, you know, like videos and photo essays and the things that everything's been about on the internet since we got to this point. It'll be interesting to see once people start sharing these different methods of what they're doing.
I'm really looking forward to see what comes out of your work with the flash frozen and whatever else you guys are going to do. Like, it'll be really cool.
Yeah, there's some definitely exciting things on the horizon. I think a lot of people right now, too, are actively working on different things to better the cannabis movement, with whether people realize it or not. I think a lot of people are studying this plant right now.
Yeah.
And a lot more will as more of these states come online, and if Canada and whatever happens again, this is all happening at
now
the
it's
UN.
working, Mark.
Hey, United Nations.
Great to be back.
Yes. I didn't think you just got like I was just like, oh, maybe he's just taking his camera off while he like chain smokes bong rips.
Black zone. I don't know what's going on. The Pennsylvania law is about to be signed, so I've been watching the progress on my phone here, so I didn't know if I was somehow like.
Are you actually going to sign it?
Yes, it's being signed right now. In fact, our friend Jessica Hawkins, Naya's mom, is actually there. She's one of the people standing right there behind the governor. Yeah, and they're about to sign right now. So this is great. Again, we were talking about hemp in Pennsylvania. We have a really strong hemp bill too. We hope to have the industrial hemp thing signed real soon. And Pennsylvania played a real key role in the development of the hemp industry during the 13 colonies. And I think if I remember correctly, in William Penn's Pennsylvania, you were taxed if you did not grow hemp. So
what are y'all going to now work on once this is signed into? Or is there an effort in line to allow for individual cultivation, or are they just going to...
Home grow, I think, is out. I think it's going to be a little bit more restrictive, not as restrictive, say, as the New York law. I think they're not going to allow smoking of flower, unfortunately, but they are going to allow extracts and concentrates and vaping.
So let me get this straight. You've got no growing and no smoking. So what do you have?
Yeah, here. Let me go through the. So I had a little thing.
It's more
here
for everyone else. I understand what's going on, but there's almost 1,000 people.
Yeah, there's going to be 25 grower licenses, 50 dispensary licenses. I guess for a total of like 150 storefronts.
And that's going to be distributed throughout the state, or is there going to be like by county, or?
Throughout the state, and yeah, I think distributed like mostly around population areas, because I think in the plan of your application you have to be able to address a certain number of patients in a given geographical area. And so yeah, here's Governor Wolf. There's his bald head right there. I don't know if you could see it, but he's signing it right there.
So are y'all going to create the Jedediah OG out there?
Well, I mean, again, there's a lot of history, hemp history in Pennsylvania. Most of the large hemp processing equipment is made over in New Holland, Pennsylvania, which is just New York County, next county over. And again, our Amish growers here are all ready to grow, start growing hemp as soon as there's an infrastructure within the state that can, crush seed and process it into oil and seed protein, which will then create the fiber that can be. And so I'll give props out to my friend Adam Thompson, who again is on the governor's, the steps behind the governor here. Adam Thompson owns the Pennsylvania Hemp Company, and they are already crushing imported hemp seeds to make a hemp seed oil product for use in foods.
Where are they importing seed from?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where, and I know that there was some sort of legality issues that were addressed in that, but basically they're selling a legal hemp oil product here in Pennsylvania, and it's got a lot of traction because it's all organic and whatnot.
But is it seed or dehulled seed?
Yes, it's dehulled. It's what is non-Schedule 1, right? The dehulled, sterilized, blah blah blah. Yeah. It has to do with being able to do it within the confines of the Schedule 1 listing, which again is challenged every day in the CBD marketplace. I mean, there's all kinds of folks now selling CBD and CBD oil supposedly extracted from hemp, below the THC cutoff, and that being, I guess, allowed in some way, shape, or form under some type of exclusion. But yeah, I mean, it's about to take off and go really big out here, out east, Maryland and D.C. I know one licensee in D.C. who's getting ready to do a build out of his grow and getting ready to make high quality extracts right there in the nation's capital. So you'll be able to buy really high quality extracts here in just a handful of months in Washington, D.C., which is really good.
There's some pretty impressive stuff going on in D.C. right now, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's happening like crazy over there. I have conversations with a few different groups out there every other day, and it seems to be moving fast.
Yeah, hey Mark, on that, let's not forget to hook up on the Pennsylvania thing. We should definitely put our heads together. I can certainly imagine a very fruitful opportunity to work together here.
I've been telling people out that are in your neighborhood that a good idea would be to come to the LIFT conference in May, which is in Toronto, not very far away from where you guys are. And that's May 28th and 29th, and quite a few people from like that area are going to be coming, and we're going to try and do some brainstorming and stuff and see if we can't figure out some way to put a project together.
Yeah, well, let's connect outside church and have a discussion on that. I'm interested.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm all about moving things forward in any way, shape, or form that's like involves me processing resin.
Well, I mean, if you think, you've got the Hempfield Township there in Pennsylvania. There's multiple towns in Pennsylvania that are named after that. So
yeah, and the hemp seed pretzels too. The hempsels, right?
Those are still going.
Did we lose Mark again? No.
I'm here.
So
hello?
Are those hempsels still going?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. They were one of the companies that was named in that 2004 lawsuit that there was a ruling in the 9th District Court on defining sort of the non-psychoactive components of cannabis as being falling outside of the definition of the Schedule 1 listing in the Controlled Dangerous Substance Act. So I think that's the real stick in the sand that I think a lot of the CBD and people who are again looking at big investment, trying to get into this market, and people who are trying to play this thing as straight down the middle as they possibly can, because again, the whole Schedule 1 listing right now makes it very, very problematic if you're investing other people's money.
Also, too, if you want to make hemp seed oil, you don't really want to use denatured seeds that can't grow. It's a lot better to use live seeds.
Oh, man. The whole cannabis food health thing was built on a fallacy because all of the original seed was steam sterilized from China, and there was no real value in it at all. So we were eating these crazy steamed out and eating the hull is not an enjoyable experience. Like,
but if you could imagine like the effort, if you could imagine like the effort that we've made in just the growing and cultivation of artisan cannabis, if that same innovation can be applied to the seed oil and really the seed protein, because again the amount of protein per acre at the end of the day, if it's better than soybeans, it's going to basically replace soybeans as being the way of getting protein into cows and hogs.
But the problem, Doctor, is your state has the same French EU limit seed strain, so you're not going to be able to benefit from manufacturing or any type of gene play because you're always limited to that 0.03% seed. So you're already kind of starting with your back against the wall, so to say, because you're dealing with an inferior product all the way around that has been bred that way just because of the scare tactics of THC. We know that those that are higher over, just slightly over, perform much better hemp-wise because of the lignostics and all the, the herd, how high it is, seed production, all that.
Yeah, but if the Schedule I listing goes away, so if it does get knocked off the schedule, and this now becomes a protein machine, forget about a trichome machine, this becomes a protein machine to feed hogs and cow, end of story, right?
How about the world?
Well, yes, okay, right. The people are going to eat
I'm not against hogs and cows. They can have some too.
Right.
I know, Mark, this must be terrible for a vegetarian to hear, right?
Well, I'm just thinking of all the people that are offset by the grain that we currently feed to that just need food, just water and food.
Well, it's not only the protein, it's the omega-3, 6, and 9 also inside of it, which you can't get from any other protein source, which are key, linoleic acids and things like that that are crucial, as much as our endocannabinoid system is, deficient, so is our, our hemp education as well as what is currently available for ingestion out of hemp currently. So it's gotten better over time. It's better than what it was, but it's not what it could be, needless to say.
Yeah, it's not just the linolenic and the linoleic acid, it's the ratio between the two.
The 3-to-1.
Yeah, that is so essential for the human diet.
That's the big one. You nailed it for sure, because the flax is the opposite. It has a 1-3 ratio. It's like you take enough of that throughout your whole life and become iron deficient. The ratios are super important.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Dr. Udo Erasmus pointed out in his book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill. He said he took him about a year of using flax oil exclusively to develop paper-thin skin that dried out easily and cracked. And it was before he had discovered hemp seed oil. And before he had discovered hemp seed oil, he was set out to make his own perfectly balanced oil because of his experience with flax oil. And before he could, the fatty acid composition had arrived in the mail. And in the 1994 or 5 version of his book, he wrote, "There was my perfectly balanced oil. Mother Nature had beat me to it by a few 100 million years." And then, though, in a more amusement, I liked his book so much I would give them away to people, and in further printings after his own balanced oil blend, Dr. Udo's, came out, he actually went back into the hemp chapter and edited out the part that said basically Mother Nature beat him to the market by a few 100 million years.
Shit, eh?
Yep. Yeah, he didn't need that competition from cannabis getting in his way of an oil sale.
Fats that
heal. And the best hemp seed oil for human nutrition is actually canola, because it has a higher STS, so it has an additional essential fatty acid.
Yeah, it's stearidonic acid, isn't that what it is?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
But that strain is also above the 0.03 French EU, correct?
No, it's legally registered in the EU as a low THC industrial hemp variety.
Good to know. Good to know.
Very cool, very cool. We love the plant.
Not only that, but it will yield 2 tons per hectare. That's more than double the yield of any other hemp seed variety.
That oil is dense and heavy.
So I'm just in letter.
Hector, did I hear that right?
2 tons per hectare, up to. In Finland, they get that. I don't know about in Canada.
And Sam, is that a dehulled seed?
Is it what?
Is that dehulled seed? That's seed.
No. That's whole seed.
Whole seed. Okay.
So I just wanted to share this. Entry P is a 20-to-1 CBD strain, and the producer has an intentionally included seeds to be shared and enjoyed. Harvest Moon Cup. So that's pretty cool. There's seeds in this little bag, and all the 100 entries. So I guess it'll be kind of interesting. I'll have to take a look at it. So that's kind of cool.
20-to-1 CBD. It'll be like local Canadian hemp.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying 2,000 plus per acre for Finola in Canada.
2,000?
Yeah, that's the highest yielding variety on record. 2,000 plus pounds per acre.
Wow, so a ton an acre.
No, yeah, that's right, per acre, yeah.
So it's just a matter of time, isn't it, before this replaces soybean as the way to...
No, soy is still cheaper to produce by the ton than hemp seed is. So, yeah, I mean, you could still produce protein a little bit cheaper by soy, but maybe the hemp protein might be better because you got these other essential fatty acids that you don't get in soy.
Well, it's just pretty nice smelling. Looks nice and crystalline. I don't know if you guys can see it or not.
Take a picture and throw it up in Hash Church group.
There you go.
I'm going to post a bunch of things that we talked about in the Hash Church group today as well. It would be great to post a link to those terpene pages as well in the Hash Church group. It's nice to be able to keep the conversation going, and wouldn't be bad to just get a person. I'm sure I could find one person to just kind of post the things that we're talking about as we talk about them throughout the show, because it sure would make for a nice one particular little zone in the group that has all the things that we spoke about. It's nice to be able to research them and go back.
I don't even know what a Facebook page looks like.
Oh, it's just a group. You punch into Facebook Hash Church, and it's just basically a little spot for us to post information. And if people want certain things discussed, they can post in there. Mostly, it's just a place where people gather and join during the week when there's no Hash Church. There's the chat starts up on YouTube as well sometimes. Well, whenever I start it. So some days it's 4, 5, 6 days before, and other days it's the night before. But I think this one I did just last night. And that hit was so strong tasting, it's still just completely covering my throat and mouth and lips. It was the red Congolese.
So it has now been signed into law. Raise your glass and pull a bong rip for those medical patients here in PA that are now have access to medical cannabis. Thank you very much.
It's a start.
Raise your head glass.
We don't get too often. We get to show some actual history happening on Hash Church, so congratulations.
I'm drinking some CBD-infused vodka that I got from my friend Marty yesterday, and it tastes great.
All right. I think vodka tastes like windshield washer fluid myself. But,
to me, it tastes like lighter fluid.
Lighter fluid?
Yeah, more like lighter fluid to me, too, yeah.
Yeah, I'll put some CBD in it.
I'm maybe some THC.
I understand a lot of people out there either like CBD or they get, medical benefit. But I think you understand, I cross my fingers when I hear the word CBD.
Sam consumes CBD almost as often as he consumes vodka.
Never.
Yeah, but you know,
I don't.
accidental exposure over the years to CBD, Sam, has probably led to some of the health benefits that you're exposing. I mean, again, when you're exposed to,
well, you got to remember that for the last couple of decades, I've been smoking skunk resin. Basically, it turns out that skunk doesn't have the CBD synthase. It's disabled. It's non-functional. So I've been getting very little CBD.
Very little. Why don't you explain to people what that means, Sam?
What that means is that the way THC is produced in the plant is by having a THC synthase gene. And the same thing for CBD. It has to have a CBD synthase gene. In skunk number 1, it just so happened, I didn't breed it like that, but at least not consciously, the CBD synthase gene is disabled. It's non-functional. It doesn't work. So it can't really produce CBD, or if it does, maybe there's an alternative synthase that I'm not familiar with, and it can produce it in, really tiny amounts. But yeah, so what I was getting mostly was THC and terpenes.
THC and terpenes. I can attest.
So, Sam, is it safe to say that if I ever see an analysis and it claims to be skunk and there's CBD in there, that it's probably not skunk?
No, it's not that simple, because there's a lot of hybrids. There's a lot of other people making skunk seeds. Also, too, I don't believe that it's impossible for skunk to produce CBD. It's just that they did find a disabled CBD synthase gene. It was the Osole group working with, wasn't it Page, I think, Chimera?
No, it was
McKernan?
Mark and this guy, Dr. Mark, or Marks, and what was the other guy's name? I have to look up the paper.
Well, I thought it was really cool that, and when I first heard about it, I immediately told them, well, of course I put the disabled CBD gene in there. Which is, I was just totally joking. I didn't even know it.
That's what you should name the skunk, or you should name the strain, the disabled CBD strain.
Yeah, it was George Weeblin. That's who it was.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he used to be from in Maryland.
Yeah, I think he still is.
Okay. Yeah.
Marks. Yeah.
I don't know how many of you have John and Mark right beside each other in the boxes, but they almost look like they're sitting just really close to each other and like they're in the same room. It's kind of trippy.
Me, Mark?
At one point, John and Mark, you were looking at each other even, and I was kind of like, whoa, what the fuck? I was like, how did Mark get to John's? Like, totally tripped me out.
It's totally one of those, here's a story of a lovely lady. You're like, what? How'd that happen?
I think it was the bong rips. Could have been the terp dips, although.
Where is D? Where is he? He's supposed to step in here and give his coin phrase. Where is he?
I definitely sent the link to him. I mean, sometimes I forget, but he did not get forgotten today, so I'm not sure where he is.
And where's Horatio? No Horatio either?
Horatio?
I'll bet you he's sleeping.
Horatio never sleeps.
That's just it. The body needs sleep at some point.
Then he's passed out. That's different.
All that residual limonene.
Oh, and then it's the cup too. So I guess lots of people at the cup right now. Not these people here, but a few.
Where's the cup?
Bong rips.
Bernardino, I think, Sam.
Tony's got a good drive ahead of him today. That'll be nice down the 101.
Yeah. How
That's
long?
a bitch of a drive on a Sunday. Everybody's out driving on a Sunday.
San Bernardino, is he going to go over the Grapevine, or I guess he'll come in down through
I don't
Verzura?
know, there's different ways, but no, it's not the Grapevine. It's a different way. Pretty sure.
No, because it's southeast of that way.
Right, so he's got to go all the way through LA, too. What a pain in the ass. Wow.
Yeah, I lived in LA for 3 years and stuff with Todd and everything, and yeah, it's fucking hell. I don't care what day of the week it is. If it's
LA.
I was thinking Santa Barbara, so I thought he'd go down through Paso Robles, and then you get down towards the coast. It's really a beautiful drive.
That's nice if you got the time, because that's really a leisurely drive. It's something you want to speed through, because, again, as I said, everybody's out driving on Sunday and Sunday driving, so.
Yeah, he said he was taking the coast, so who knows.
He'll make it there tomorrow.
Keep up with the chat here.
I wanted to give a shout out. Wanted to give a thanks to William Esperanza there from Grow Room for sending me a Grow Room hat. So, whoop whoop. Thanks.
Very nice, very nice. I've worn that hat on a few Hash Church episodes. Seems to be the hat that I just like the way it fits my head. He's passed on a few over the years, and seems to be the one I pick more often just to wear, just because I like the way it feels.
So how's the new hair? We see you rocking the hair again this week as opposed to a hat on. You liking it?
I don't think about it too much, you know. It's just up there on the top of my head, and it is what it is. The wife likes it.
That's what's important.
That is exactly what's important.
Hey, has anybody said happy 420? It's happy 420 week, so happy 420.
Happy 420.
We did a little bit, but yeah, happy 420. I guess we should definitely rest in peace, R.I.P. to Howard Marks, Mr. Nice, passed away in the last.
Yeah. R.I.P. Howard.
Yeah, Howard. He was the original smuggler of the man for Europe. I mean, he led away for a lot of people, so he's quite a legend. Not many hash makers or hash smugglers get movies and books made out of him.
I really enjoyed his book, even though I've heard there's some questionable truth to some parts of it, but he's an excellent writer, and I suggest anybody read it who hasn't read it.
Yeah, Mr. Nice is definitely worth reading. I was lucky enough to get turned on to it. I had been looking for it for a couple of years, just in used bookstores and stuff, and I was waiting for a ferry in the southeast of Asia. I was in, I think I was on an island called Koh Lanta Yai, and we were waiting for this boat to come, and this Australian guy came up to me, and he was like, "Hey mate, I got this book I think you might like to read," and he pulls it out of his backpack. It's like a tattered version of Mr. Nice, like a seriously traveled version of Mr. Nice. And so I was like super stoked. I gave him a little piece of some Nepali finger hash that I had. He was super stoked. It was nice to be able to trade Nepali hash for Mr. Nice, the book. And reading the book while traveling in Asia, having been in India and Korea and Thailand, and recently having been in Europe, in Lugano, it was like very cool to read about all these different places. I actually stayed in a bunch of the different high-end hotels that he would mention in that book, and I'd be in Zurich or whatever. I'm like, oh, I'm going to stay at the Schweizerhof. I think that's what you do when you're in Zurich or whatever. So it was kind of a cool way to read that book, and yeah, it was definitely. I enjoyed it for sure. Definitely, like Chimera said, if you haven't read that book, it's for sure an entertaining story, if nothing else.
Yeah, I like the part where he's on the boat and he finds the bug, and then what he does, what he decides to do with the bug. I think whether it's true or not, it's a brilliant story.
Yeah,
funny.
The best thing about Howard Marks is when he did get popped for being one of the largest smugglers in the world of cannabis, he kept his fucking mouth shut. He did his time, you know, and you got to respect people who, you know, keep their fucking mouth shut.
Well, I think that's why he's so respected and lauded in our community, is because he did it right, as we're told. You know, as we learn on the playground, and as the cops learn as they protect each other. You know, you don't rat on each other. End of story. And he carried that through, and I think that's, if he had ratted, we wouldn't even we would never speak his name or even know his name. But because he was like, okay, I'm doing my time, and he did it gracefully and respectfully, you know. I think that's why we give him his props to this day.
Well, if he ratted, he would be Joe Petri instead of Howard Marks.
I was just gonna say, that's hilarious. We know
Yeah,
Joe.
I said it.
We know Joe Petri's name.
Yeah, that's right. The king of nothing.
King of lies.
No, that's hilarious. I always wondered how an anonymous guy could show up with the DEA to debate me at the University of Miami. How are you both an expert and anonymous, I asked him. You're a known expert, but nobody knows who you are. This is very interesting.
Pretty much.
Maybe he was an expert at servicing the DEA.
That is who he showed up with.
That is definitely not the people to roll into the party with, let me tell you.
You want to give everybody kind of a background, Todd? Because you're kind of being vague. I know what it is, but...
No, you know, I think, well, all right, a background is way back in March of 1995, LV Musica, who at the time was like one of 8, now she's one of 2, that gets medical cannabis from the federal government from their compassionate... Yeah, I think they're down to 2.
That's
and say that again, Ryan? Or say that again?
Crazy. That's just it's kind of a sad kind of statement of that, you know?
Yeah.
Well, sadly, when 20 years ago, there were some of the patients have passed away. Others have lost the doctors that were prescribing it to them, and thus fell out of the program. But LV stayed with it, and Ivan Rosenfield, who we all know, he's a great guy. We can have him on sometime. He'd love this, but. Well, anyhow, LV is based out of Florida, so she was invited by the Normal of Florida to come and debate basically the DEA as to why everybody should get the medicine she gets. And she brought me along because I had just recently gotten the doctor's prescription from Holland, and he argued that it made me internationally legal. So I wanted to go and, see what the Southeast Quadrant leader of the DEA had to say about this. So I went, and someone else showed up. There was this impartial doctor who was anything but, and then there was this strange guy named Consupsa, who didn't give his real name, and he sat to the left of the DEA agent, and it was weird. He gave a real radical speech, but then later I got to Holland, and I was showing the tape of the debate, because I recorded it on high 8, to Adam Dunn, and Adam had the same equipment as me, and he had a remote control at Cannabis in Amsterdam, and he noticed that when this guy Consupsa started talking, that the DEA agent, Wayne Rokes, literally stopped him, put his hand on the guy's arm, and said, "No, I don't want to do that tonight." And then Consupsa says, "No, you don't want to do that tonight, okay." And then goes into an entirely different, or whatever the fuck he was going to say. I was sitting 2 people over. I was sitting to the right of LV Musica, who was sitting to the right of the DEA agent. I was at the end of the table, and I didn't really see that interaction until I saw it on the videotape, and it tripped me out because, I mean, if you go into a debate and you control the thesis and the antithesis, you basically control the debate, if that makes sense. And by bringing in this radical, it can make the DEA agent look to be very rational, and it's really an interesting thing. I mean, it's a very manipulative way of controlling the room.
I've seen the video of it. It's definitely trippy.
Well, I'd say, don't you have a video of it, Todd, that people can see?
The video is up on my YouTube page at just Todd737. The thing is, I mean, I didn't know who he was, and years later I received a book in the mail while I was in prison, no less, And they didn't allow the book, but they allowed, like, they photocopied a little bit of it for me, which was creepy too. And really what it was Consupsa was Joe Petri. And he wrote the book King of Nepal. And finally it kind of all came together for me that the guy that was there with the DEA wrote this basically tell-all confession book about his days in smuggling. And I mean, shit, when I got out of prison, I took a look at the book, and he basically lays out a very clear story of the people he interacted with, the things he did, and he does it in a boisterous way. But to me, it's just telling on everybody that ever fucking touched his life. You know, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, and from what I understand from his history, he didn't do any time in prison. I mean, he didn't self-surrender and fucking get out 5 years later. He was looking like he was doing the fucking debate circuit with the Southeast Quadrant leader of the DEA,
Todd,
because they looked like they had it worked out.
Todd, read page 53. He clearly states that he cooperated with American agents to get people busted with the 500 kilo load of hashish to get out of jail himself.
Well, it makes sense.
53.
I mean, you know, I honestly don't have the book anymore. I was just grossed out by the whole guy experience. But, you know, it's not the first. I mean, how many people are in this movement that have been compromised, to be honest? I mean, not a lot of people show up stoned and smiling to self-surrender to prison, you know?
No. That's for sure.
And that's why we don't talk about that rat in his book and all that other shit, because, you know, he won't be ended up lauded like Howard was. And this all started with Howard, who unfortunately passed away. But, you know, you were fortunate to give him an award, weren't you, Todd?
No, no. Ben presented him with the Cannabis Culture Award before he passed away. It was a really beautiful experience because he had ran into a lot of problems, and health-wise, and he ran into problems getting to Amsterdam from London, and we literally held up, you remember, Mark, we held up the whole event and waited for him to arrive. And when he arrived, he was in such frail health, and I think it shocked all of us, you know, and, you know, people were getting impatient and such because it was a good 90 minutes to almost 2 hours we waited, seated, trying to kill time, waiting for him to come. And when he came, it was a magical moment. You know, Mark did a great job of capturing it on video, as he often does, and Ben did a little video that's like a tribute video, and, you know, got to thank him for being in the Culture High. I mean, if you look at the Culture High and realize that was filmed just 24 months before Mark's video in Amsterdam when he got the award, you can see how rapidly his health declined. And he was still such a brave soul throughout it, you know, such a beaming, smiling face, and his energy was just so positive, and, you know, anyone that met him, I think, felt touched.
He really did go down quickly. That was sad, but again, that's what happens. You smoke cigarettes for that long, dude.
Well, life catches up to us on any level. You know, we can look at, you know, being, you know, a raw food vegan or something like Paul McCartney's wife was, and you can still not escape the Grim Reaper, you know, so we all just have to treasure the moments we get, no matter how we get them, because they're special.
Yeah, that's very wise.
Amen.
Anyway, R.I.P. Howard. Thanks for the memories.
Yeah, let's have a puff. A little puffaroo, a little dry sift, a little bubble, a little rosin. Shit, I'm going in deep. Going in deep. Thanks, West Coast Concentrate.
I'm going to terp dip too. I'm going to do the West Coast Concentrate 120. It's amazing. It really is.
So, what's are you puffing on out there? What are you puffing on, Bubbleman?
Well, I am about to puff on some of D420K's 95% plus heads. I haven't microscoped it yet, but you said it should be at least 95. Dry sift, it's really nice. It's called ice cream. It's got a real nice flavor and smell to it. I put in a little PK 90 micron from West Coast Concentrate, super greasy, full melt, 6-star. I put in a little rosin that is extremely stable shatter that I also got from the West Coast Concentrate. And I guess I'm going to dip it into a terp. I'm not quite sure which one. Maybe the Kush Cleaner.
Okay, so I'm gonna laugh because that's what I have in my hand right now. I'm gonna try it, and I also have the West Coast Concentrate. You guys are they hooked it up, man. It's actually he hooked it up. Oh, and Morpheus just came in to say hello.
All right. Well, we're having a puff in Howard's honor.
Kingston Red Tongue Believe from Oakland Extracts.
That's Morpheus.
I thought that was you.
To Howard.
What are you puffing on, Chimera?
Mental floss, 15-minute spin. Hasn't even been cleaned up or anything.
Here's a cannabis label from one of Howard's loads.
Nice.
A 10, 20-ton load.
That's ridiculous that you have that, Sam. You are on another level right now. Like, that is just ridiculous.
Yeah, Sam's collection always goes on and on and on, doesn't it? There's so many different aspects of different parts of cannabis culture, from books to labels to patches.
I was about to say the patches.
Seeds. I mean, hell.
Fucking epic. A multi-ton load. He's just got the fucking... Yeah, this is a label from one of Howard's loads. People are like, what?
So, Sam, I'm not trying to be morbid here, but you have somebody who is a successor to your collection so that it won't be lost or scattered to the world?
I was going to put it on eBay to the highest bidder. Why? You want to bid? No, I'm just fucking with you.
I just don't want to see that lost. You have such a great collection of various different things. I just want to make sure that they're not lost to history.
Yeah, well, one thing I haven't done is I have not collected marijuana labels from the last, say, a decade or so. So all the current ones in Colorado or anything, I don't have any of it. I wish I did, but it just got impossible to keep.
Others, I believe, have that collection. You have that collection that is much more worthwhile. The old ones from the 80s and 90s, 70s, come on, those are prime labels. I've seen pictures that Todd has taken, but that is fucking epic. If anything, those should be made into books.
Yeah.
Published, hands down. You should.
Sophisticated skunk. That's your buddy.
Yep, it is. He was probably the best.
Have you thought about doing that there, Sam? Of actually publishing those?
Well, I thought about it, but I don't know if I'll ever do it.
Fair enough. Well, that's why I want to make sure that your collection is left to somebody who will appreciate it and document it accordingly, so it isn't thrown in the
Blueberry Hills.
Well, it never would be, but it's dude, it's so extensive. Like, I don't even know how you'd find one person that could actually. Who's going to pay what that's actually worth? There's very few people that collect like that. But it is an incredible.
Originally, I was thinking in opening a museum.
Yeah.
But I've been down and I saw the Benz Museum in Barcelona, and wow, what an amazing place!
Yeah.
It's as good as I could imagine. It really, really is top quality.
Yeah, Ben's is pretty cool, but your stuff is pretty cool too.
I think Ben has created a gift for the whole world of cannabis lovers with his Barcelona museum.
Yeah.
To think that it took him 12 years to put it together, and it's just got love in every detail. It's absolutely so beautiful. Really incredible. Everyone that loves cannabis should make it a point to go and visit this place, because it really...
one thing that's really odd, Todd, is he actually gets a higher head count in the Amsterdam one than in the Barcelona one.
At this time, yes. I mean, the thing is the red light district has a lot more traffic walking through it on that street that is, you know, hundreds of years old and populated than that old palace does at the edge of the Rambla by the marina. So it's a really a huge difference, you know.
I think it's as simple as the tourist population. A high percentage of the youth that come to Amsterdam are here for cannabis-related issues.
Yeah. I mean, you also got over 2 decades of marketing with Amsterdam and Barcelona, not so much.
Yeah.
So we got to get more people aware of it, and as more people go to Barcelona as the new cannabis center of Europe, whereas I believe Amsterdam is the old center of cannabis energy in Europe. Not to diss my friends in Amsterdam, it's just, hey, even they have moved down there.
And with me, it was as simple as the Barcelona collection is easily 4, 5, 6 times as good, but they have a higher population coming into the Amsterdam one, just because I guess it's location, location, location.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the location that he's got in Spain and Barcelona is going to be, I mean, that'll develop over 5-10 years and be a bumping area.
It's a pretty nice area.
You know?
Oh, I agree.
The building itself is nothing less than incredible.
Yeah. It shows Ben a visionary sense, because look, you know, to think he bought the building in 2000, long before a lot of that was happening down there. It's awesome.
Yeah.
You know? It's really cool. When we opened it in 2012, there was not that many smokers clubs even out there yet. You know, I think there wasn't very many at all, actually.
Yeah.
They're on point with what they're producing these days, man. I'll tell you. I like going to Barcelona for the hash.
Absolutely. You know, a lot of the seed producers moved down there because it was the Southern California experience, and they could grow and they could do greenhouses. And then as Spain became more economically depressed, there was less of a chance you were going to get busted unless you pissed off some locals that knew somebody. So there was lots of opportunity to go down there, and that's basically what they did, you know. So, you know, it's kind of cool. But as that changed too, you know, and people became bolder with the social clubs, now it's become a new scene. I think culture is the new commodity in cannabis, if that makes sense. Because can you bring together people? Because that's really what I think the cannabis consumer wants now. They want the experience of, you know, what bars have, which is go out and have a drink with your friends, or a coffee. Go have a coffee and a morning chat on, you know, this is something that's kind of been denied us.
And that's what I've seen as well when I was in Barcelona, and makes me want to go back, is to see the cultural scene coming around it, where people are going out as groups and getting cannabis together and are sitting together and having great times. I mean, we went to 4 different facilities, and every place was kicking in one way, shape, or form. So the scene is definitely taking off. It's just more people have to be aware of what's happening. But it seems along the local Barcelonians, it's definitely understood and happening.
Yeah, and I think people are stoked from all over Europe to go to Barcelona for these events, you know, to you know, why Cannabis is such a big event, because it's like, man, it's a win-win. Of course I want to go down to Barcelona and be around a ton of, you know, cannabis-focused people, go to a bunch of different parties, eat great food, and be in nice weather, because Barcelona in March is pretty choice.
You know what's funny, Mark, is you have to like the way that Cannabis does their Cannabis award. Takes about 20 minutes or a half an hour. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and it's over.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's the most unbelievable thing ever. Just reading the chat as it gets quiet. I'm always reading the chat when everyone decides not to talk anymore.
That's funny. I've been trying to pay attention more to the chat.
We need a cricket button, you know, like a little like wee wee.
I was gonna say I squished the whole 18 samples at 2 hours and 6 minutes.
Nice, nice.
So that wasn't bad. Yeah, I got a couple favorites. That's about it. That's about all I can say about that right now.
What's your favorite one, John?
Well, you know what? I'm tossed up out of the 3 there. I'm going to give you my top 3 is going to be O, Q, and E. They squished the nicest. They had the nicest fragrance. They all had different flavors. One stood out more than the other 2. So. Yeah. I'm happy. It wasn't that bad, you know what? There wasn't anything in there that was totally awful, so it was all pretty good. So pretty good sample pack.
And what do? You go tonight to do that at a concert with Snoop or something?
Yeah, it's at 420 Sound Club, and I think it opens. I don't know, vendors are there between 5 and 6 for setup. Nice. And then from then it's for the rest of the night. Snoop comes on probably later. He's on for a 2-hour set. There's a couple
He'll
openers.
fly in at like 10:30.
Yeah, he'll probably get on stage at midnight. They'll close at 1. You know, people will show up at 11. For the last event, he showed up around 10:30, and it was really good. He was on the stage for quite some time. He was in and out, but it was a good event. So expecting more. He's got 25 special were put inside. If you had a sticker on one of the meditators and it had actually their logo on it.
Yeah.
For the event, then if it had the Smoker's Bowl little sticker on it, you get one of 25 people get to meet Snoop Dogg. So it's pretty up close and personal with it being that fortunate. It's a small event, so it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking really forward to it. It'll be a fun night.
Excellent, dude. Well, I'm sure we'll see all sorts of pictures on your social media of it once it's done.
Oh, probably, for sure.
Smoke weed every day.
Indeed. I try to smoke cannabis resin every day.
I'm smoking resin. Oh, Morpheus just agreed with you. I'm doing a bong rip.
That's a good idea. Nothing goes on in the big world of cannabis around the world these days. There's so many things going on. It seems to be hard to pinpoint epic forward motions in the scene. I guess Pennsylvania will be today's big one. Getting that signed in is a pretty big deal. Not just for, it always happens the same way. It's always like, well, we need it right away for these people that are like extremely, of course those people should have it yesterday, but then let's let everyone have it today.
Well, 420 is a big day, the United Nations is meeting. It's going to be, see what's going to outcome from that. It's going to be definitely some kind of big change.
Sure would be historic if they just squashed that stupid fucking treaty.
Yeah. It'd be really interesting what's going to happen.
It would just
be... Of course, 420 around the world, It's got to be a good one. Sunset Beach for Vancouver is going to be awesome. Got a huge screen, big beach. It's going to be really epic, and the weather's going to be 20 degrees. I just looked at it. Sunny. It's going to be just perfect day to be on the beach and for a big 420 event. It's going to be.
Did you see the lady from the aquatic center, what she said?
Yeah, I did see that.
I hope it pours.
Well, it's going to be gorgeous sunny day.
Man, I couldn't believe she said that.
No, they canceled didn't they close the aquatic center for the day?
Oh, they're closing the aquatic center, absolutely.
Yeah, they're actually absolutely closing that off on the side of
They're afraid it's going to be a big hot box for all the
But you know what? I have to say, realistically, because of the size of the fans they have that are sucking air from outside into that place,
probably would.
They would have probably filled that place up with smoke more than any other place could possibly fill up with smoke in the near vicinity. Because one thing for sure is when the joints do get lit, it's borderline ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Like when it was in the city, it would travel for blocks.
Yeah.
And be like on the 7th floor up a staircase of a building. Like it was just unbelievable how much that smell could travel.
Oh yeah, you can Google. I mean, just Google 420 Vancouver. You'll see videos of the smoke rising up. That would be a good one to have your drone at.
Yeah, exactly. I think Kingston had his drone at 420 this year or last year. Last year or the year before, sorry. Because he's got some footage of like the thing going straight up. I got a pretty epic panoramic shot from John's hotel room on the 5th or 6th floor across the street of the whole crowd, and I also have video of the joints getting lit and the smoke becoming just a cloud over the people. It looks pretty fucking insane.
Yeah.
That's a lot of smoke.
Well, this year we got the penthouse suite overlooking the whole thing, so it'll be some really good video coverage and stuff like that. Definitely.
What penthouse? Vancouver's got all sorts of different penthouses. What penthouse did you get, Johnny B?
Right on the corner, just overlooking the beach house. So if you look right down on 420, right on the corner on there, we're overlooking.
Was it like an Airbnb?
Yeah, it's an Airbnb. They're awesome.
Nice. I was thinking it was like a hotel or something. So right on. Cool.
Hotels around there. It was. I got some. We got MedTender US coming up for a few days, stuff like that. So some good meetings and stuff, and of course having a place downtown for all the events just made more sense because it was cheaper than running a hotel.
That does make sense.
We did that back in like January, so it was like a smart thing to do, and it's really going to be good for everybody because we're going to have some good coverage from filming out of the corner of the suite, and it'll be really good. It'll be cool.
Awesome, dude. Airbnb for the win. Except when you Airbnb your place for more than 2 couples or 2 people, i.e. bedrooms, then the 3rd bedroom for sure, if you're in Spain, is going to be like for a child, and you're going to end up sleeping on like a cardboard mattress with, I'm just saying, it happens. Crickets. Crickets, I tell you.
No, but now I'm painting stairs and getting things ready and busy, and I'm gonna like.
Yeah, when do you go to downtown to your hotel? On the 20th or the 19th or?
Oh, in 3 hours.
Oh, in 3 hours, dude! You're starting today.
Yeah, everything because the Snoop Dogg tonight, and I got the I got to start setting up there, and it's kind of involved with that. So I'm there all night, so I might as well check in for tonight. And then there's tomorrow, and then there's Tuesday. Got people flying in, and of course, 420th parking was really a smart thing about everything. So it was just kind of all it's needed. It was yeah. I got a vacation in town doing hanging out with 420.
Very good. I'm going to do 420 in Toronto and Vancouver because I fly home on 420.
That's yeah, you're gonna do that awesome little speech there and stuff involved with that conference. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We'll check it out.
Well, you'll probably make it to the same. You'll get down to R420 and you'll be filming out of my place again this year, maybe taking your shots like you did last year.
I'll definitely, if I'm down there, I will definitely get in touch and come see you guys wherever you may be. I'm sure you probably won't be in that apartment the whole time. You want to be down in the thick of it.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Hopefully it's going to, the weather's going to hold, but it looks like it's going to, so, definitely looking forward to everybody coming on down. Lots of people coming from out of town, lots of people flying in, so it's definitely going to be a really, really cool event. They got this huge stage, got some good acts going on, and of course the sun's going to be shining. So what better place to be is on the beach, Sunset Beach.
Against that woman's wishes from the Aquatic Center, who when she said that quote, I swear they should have quoted her the Grinch. It's like, it's like I hope it pours. People who use cannabis are gathering on a beach. And she hopes it pours. This is the problem with the world. As long as you hope it pours when cannabis users want to gather, you are a part of the problem.
The sun will shine.
What do we get?
She's hoping it'll pour. That's kind of like hoping it'll squish.
Yeah, there you go. That's what she's saying. She's hoping the rosin will pour. You're right, dude. She's ahead.
They know that there's absolutely nothing they can do on that day. I mean, there's, 25,000 people show up there?
Oh, I hope more than 25,000 show up.
We're going to pull more.
I mean, that's pretty major. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
How many people go down for the fireworks to that same area?
50,000.
Sure.
50,000?
Yeah, I think it's like 50,000.
Damn, fireworks pulling in more people than ganja?
Well, they line both sides of the river. It's whoever can get the best site, right?
Well, there's a lot of boats that are being rented. I know that through a lot of other different organizations, through some big companies, they've rented boats to be on the water, and so I guarantee it'll be full of boats too. So there'll be more. That's where we're going to get excessive, where there's going to be a lot of people on boats on the water too. So it's going to be really cool. A lot of private parties going on. Fun. I've been invited to a few. But I'm going to be hanging out with the peeps and having some fun.
Sounds like a good time. 420 happening all over the world. People gathering April 20th. No matter where you are.
It's going to be a real special 420 because I think the genie is more out of the bottle on this 420 than it's been on previous 420s. You know, I mean, it's gotten to where again. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this. Totino's pizza rolls, which is made by the multinational food conglomerate, $18 billion company General Mills, has got a big advertisement on Colfax Avenue saying that 420 420 is better with pizza rolls or something like that.
I saw it. It said something even weirder. It was more like what did it say? Because I saw the way it was written. It was slick.
It says 420 is better on pizza rolls. I'm looking at the.
Is that what it said?
They did it in a way that it was deniable that it was cannabis. They were just being, cute. But
the notion that, again, you have the attention of General Mills, I mean, this is a huge company.
Well, that was it. Stock up before 20.
Before 420, see if that play.
That's the one I saw. Stock up B4/20, and then it's these pizza roll things.
Yeah, the one that I'm looking at here, it says 420 is better on pizza rolls. Here, I'll post the link here in the chat. But this is the kind of thing, again, where you can only acknowledge this market doesn't exist for so long before businesses are just going to be like, holy shit. There's a huge opportunity for us to get in here and to play in a big way, And I don't know. I think that this 420 is going to be it's going to just keep getting better. Every 420 in the future is just going to get better and better, I think.
We are a huge emerging demographic, and they see us financially now more than they've ever seen us before. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and I think, Hash Church has actually played a role in getting the message out. I mean, we reach a lot of people, and the message that we're getting out to folks is...
Well, I mean, not to, I think this is groovy, but I was saying the same message in 2009 when I was doing promos with NPR for my THC Expo at the Convention Center in Los Angeles because... I felt that it was true back then. We were seeing more people getting involved and into the industry, 10 years ago because, when SB 420 here in California passed and it basically somewhat regulated cannabis clubs is when you started seeing a lot of bravery with the dispensaries starting to pop up. And it was amazing living in LA and seeing upwards of 1,000 pot shops open up in a couple-year period. It felt like they were everywhere. And I just think that was attributed to people feeling like there was no real threat of conviction like there used to be. And this is something where I feel like, they can put all the restrictions on the laws they want, and we can sit here and cry over the details and fight over the details. But the truth is the details matter very little. And I think that, there's this psychological and sociological way we all think in a community that you can try to herd kittens all you want, but I think we're a bunch of idealistic kittens in a way, doing what we want, playing how we want, making what we want, and, prohibition didn't work for shit for them coming along and telling us what to do, and stupid, stringent regulations when they know science is behind us and they can't lock us up anymore based on ignorance and ignorant arguments, then they're double screwed. So I think we should all focus on passing legislation that legalizes the cannabis to any degree. Like I used to argue with Ohio. They should have passed that. Yes, it was better than what they have now, which is shit. And the reality is that once it passes, you know, the details are great, but look at how it really happens in the real world. And when people feel like there's an opportunity, they take it because, you know, hey, we're all going to die someday. So if we legalize our activities, I don't know. I think the details will work themselves out in the end all over the place, if that makes sense. You know, just stop arresting people for cannabis is really, I think, my first mission.
Waste of resources, a waste of valuable resources when they should be using those resources to treat addicts of opiates, which are the legalized drugs, which are the real problems in society today, not cannabis.
Yeah, there's so many things we could be spending our resources on other than chasing around people with a pocket full of flowers. It's not even funny. I mean, they should be counting guns and stockpiling of weapons more than they should be in my basement worrying about how many fucking flowers are under my light. It's silly.
Agreed.
But isn't that where it's all going? You know, it's all changing. We're getting our freedoms little by little, and I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. That's really what we're after. You know, don't lock us up anymore.
Well, I'm looking forward to our part 2, to our Canadian little project here with the MMAR. It'll be interesting to see if all Canadians are now able to grow plants, if there's plant number limitations, or if it's a weight limitation. The limitations we have had have always been fairly reasonable in the sense that you could have kilos and kilos of product, even you know, extracts, and hopefully it stays that way.
Well, can I just point something out? Cannabis is hard in that way because it's such a productive plant. And, you know, you can tell Mother Nature to back off, but have you ever stood next to a redwood tree? She does what she wants. And the truth is everybody has the freedom to grow pot. There's a whole lot of it everywhere because she is, like, not withholding when it comes to growers. And once you get into it, yeah. You'll have more of it than you know what to do. I think that's what's going to happen with cannabis. You're easily going to get to a place where more people have more of it and have no one to sell it to because everyone has it.
Yeah.
In the not too different future.
And that will be a good day.
Yeah, it ain't going to be worse shit. And I love it. Everybody can make their dry sift and throw away 90% of their harvest because they won't give a fuck. They'll just harvest more.
Or plant more.
Yeah, it won't. Nobody will be ripping off their plants because they got their own garden to tend. It'll be a totally different trip.
Yeah,
Mainly the same reason there aren't tomato thieves. I don't know anybody that gets jacked for their tomato garden. Think of that.
Just birds.
Birds are, yeah, animals, yeah, okay. So now the only thing I have to worry about is little four-legged creatures stealing my crops. That'd be great.
Yeah, but I mean, this is what we're all working for. We're all working toward that utopia. We're all trying to strive to finally arrive there. You know, we were told 20 years ago that it would never happen in our lifetime, and here we are